On today's episode of Hit the Mats podcast, we are catching up a lot.
It's a super show.
Stay tuned. Tonight's main event. Welcome to Hit the Mats. In this corner, from New Milford, Connecticut, your WWE mentor, Dan, the Man, Maloney. And his opponent, from Toledo, Ohio, the filthy casual himself, Chris Holcomb. Let's get it on. For those of you unfamiliar with the show, this is your weekly World Wrestling Entertainment podcast where Dan, the diehard fan, and I, your resident filthy casual, run you through our Raw, SmackDown, and NXT recaps and give you the latest in wrestling news and discuss a topic about the world of wrestling for your amusement. If that sounds like a good time, be sure to hit like and subscribe down below and rate well elsewhere. It really does help us out. We have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/hitthebooks. And it encompasses both our comic book podcast, Hit the Books, and our wrestling podcast, Hit the Mats, as well as any future endeavors and projects. You can also check out our website, htbvids.com, where you can find links to all of these things. We're on Stitcher, we're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're on YouTube, and soon to have more once I get caught up on editing. We're on Twitter at HTBVids. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/hitthebooks. And you can always email us with questions and topics for the show at hitthebooksvids@gmail.com. All right, let's get into it. So this week, we're doing a lot of catching up. We were stymied by one thing, then another, mostly illness, and then just being busy as regular 40-hour work week adults. And we just got busy, and wrestling is a time-consuming hobby. It takes a lot of hours to just watch and enjoy the product, especially when you're watching 3+ shows a week, which in this case we were. And there's a lot of good stuff to be had. So we will not have a topic of the show this week. We will probably not touch on much news, I'm assuming, because everything's about WrestleMania right now, and that's pretty much all we're focused on until WrestleMania is finally over. We will have a recap for next week's show, in addition to an NXT TakeOver recap show that we will be filming on Saturday that may not be published before WrestleMania. We'll try to put it up, and we have a few guests that'll be coming on and possibly doing a WrestleMania prediction show. I'm hoping to have it all edited and ready to go by the morning of WrestleMania. So prior to watching WrestleMania, feel free to drop in, see what we thought about the shows leading up to the week, the NXT TakeOver show, and see what our predictions are for WrestleMania. So I think a lot of content, a lot of editing, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it. I have the day off on Saturday, and that's how I'm going to spend it, editing.
Living the dream.
But I hope you guys enjoy it. I do it because I love it, and I hope you do too. So look forward to that. So this week we are going through 2 weeks worth of content. The last episode was focused on Fastlane and the fallout from Fastlane. I think we kind of skipped 1 week, and then we went into these 2 weeks worth of shows. SmackDown, Raw, NXT, NXT UK, 205 Live, and a little bit of everything sprinkled in there. So let's get into it. We got a lot of stuff to go through. So hopefully we won't keep Dan from NXT, which is about to be on in a little bit here.
Shortly,
too long.
Yes, the Pirate Princess will be in action, hence why I'm representing.
He's repping hard. See, I'm lazy and I watch it after the fact. After Hulu and everybody else have edited it down to a nice, watchable hour and a half.
A truly filthy casual.
The most filthy of casuals. So first up, we got the March 18th Raw episode. This Raw a little bit better, in my opinion, than most. And I'll let you know why as we go through.
We disagree greatly.
We certainly do.
Greatly.
We have disagreed on Raw pretty consistently. Every week that he thinks it's complete garbage, I think it's okay.
We're going like this.
And then every week that he thinks it's pretty good and pretty okay, I think it's complete garbage.
Yes.
So clearly we have different things in mind when we're watching the show, but we're both pretty consistently on SmackDown's team.
We're pretty close.
We're pretty consistent on
SmackDown.
NXT, SmackDown.
Yeah.
We're always like right there, but Raw, we're just so divided.
Raw is very polarizing.
I think I give the Raw cast a little more benefit of the doubt than you do.
Yes, I think so.
But I think
so.
Yeah, I think you like certain moments.
I love
a little more.
I'm such a mark for NXT and SmackDown that it keeps my bar at a certain level that Raw just consistently
victim of expectation. That's what,
just
the expectation's too high for a 3-hour show.
I mean,
I'm
so ensconced in NXT especially that I just see what the best possible booking looks like, and then I watch Raw and I'm just, how is this the same?
Was it Big E that posted that tweet? About how trash Raw is recently.
So Big E did post on Twitter this past week that.
Let's see if I can find it for the YouTube show.
I like to think of SmackDown as the mouthwash you need after the turd that Raw leaves in your mouth. And then he added, just to cover for himself, I'd like to think I can get away with that tweet, but if not, I was hacked. So he should be pretty covered there. But I think he said what many of us are feeling.
Thinking and feeling.
On a regular basis.
I don't understand how you can possibly be on the Raw cast and not feel that way and know it and know that it's true when you're just getting hit with a hail of boos and just blank faces every single week.
And if you're watching the other WWE products that are going on TV, from 205 Live to NXT to NXT UK, and then you see that contrast, I just consistently can't believe this is the same company.
Yeah, that's true.
Let alone this is the flagship brand.
It's concerning to say the least. Although, small piece of news for this week. Vince actually sold off a bunch of stock for WWE to fund the XFL. So maybe Vince is finally handing things off a little bit. Of course, the portion he gave away was like worth there's 250 million somewhere around there. The man's worth like 3.8 billion.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's like
he still maintains.
It's like a $20 bill.
Yeah, he still maintains 80% of the voting power and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it does show that he's very serious about the XFL. So it is sort of a fantasy of mine that he will become very focused on running the XFL and establishing it.
Give
and maybe
Triple H the wrestling stuff.
Give the wrestling a little more over to Papa H, who has been groomed for this role for some time.
Why not let Kurt Angle and Papa H just do their thing? I know you don't like Kurt Angle. As long as he's not wrestling.
I like Kurt Angle, not as a booker.
Why not?
Triple H just won the second best booker in the world by Wrestling Observer newsletter.
Yeah,
for
he deserved it.
He won second best. He won either second or third best promoter
rivalry
as well. I mean, this guy
have a show rivalry.
This guy created NXT. I mean, he created the best wrestling product.
But is he going to
WWE
handle
has.
3 shows competently? I think it's going to be diminishing returns. The more he has to handle,
maybe
the less.
If he would stop reading Batista's mail, he could focus.
Give me what I want.
Oh, spoiler alert!
Give me what I want. I'm not gonna totally give you what you want.
Just let the game cerebrally assassinate Raw for all of us. Okay, that's what I want. Give me what I want.
Oh, go fuck yourself, Triple H. Is that what he said?
Kiss my ass.
Kiss my ass.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert
that's
for next week. Literally all he did. All right. Now let's finally get into Raw. After we got done shitting on it for about 10 minutes there.
We really hate this, so let's talk about it.
First up, we had, and please add stuff in there, because again, I'm watching the Hulu edit, and they edit stuff that they deem is less important out, which is not always the case. But
not always the case.
Hulu,
have some respect for the revival.
Well, yeah.
Always the first to get cut.
They really are, though.
It's outrageous.
First up, we had a pretty hype Paul Heyman promo with Brock Lesnar. I had probably one of my best shots of any episode of Raw or SmackDown ever when I snapped a picture of it while I was going, and it instantly rung in my head, get you a girl that looks at you the way Paul Heyman looks at Brock Lesnar. And I will post it here on our YouTube channel and probably use it as the thumbnail for this episode. So definitely check that out.
Paul Heyman's wonderful.
Paul Heyman is awesome.
Everything about it.
He's so good at his job. He's so good at his job.
He is distilled professional wrestling essence in human form.
Yeah. And then we got an interruption from Drew McIntyre, which is, okay, fine. The one thing I did take away from this was that Brock Lesnar was actually selling it pretty well. Like he had his eyes wide open and was kind of like impressed and like chuckling and
I gotta say a word about Brock Lesnar. The guy gets a lot of well-deserved heat for some of the things that he's said and done in real life, and some of the things that he's caused in the locker room and all this kind of stuff, and being an absentee champion and getting all that money to show up 5 times a year. But there is a reason why Vince thinks so highly of him. It is partially his MMA fame, of course. That's the kind of thing Vince loves. But he is a phenomenal professional wrestler. He's a phenomenal athlete.
Monster.
He can sell like nobody. There's nobody his size that sells like he does. There's just nobody that touches him. He's almost AJ Styles level at selling, even though he's 3 times the size of AJ Styles. His facial expressions are fantastic.
Watch the Finn Balor match from Fastlane if you want to see how well it could sell.
Yeah, or you could watch Daniel Bryan from Survivor Series. You could watch last year's AJ Styles match from the previous Survivor Series. This guy, he knows how to be a professional wrestler. It is not his passion, although he always speaks very highly of the business when he's asked. It's not his passion, but he really does it very, very well at a very, very high level.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
I gotta give him credit for it. And even just little segments like this, just you give him just a little bit to work with, and he's just exceptional at it. He shines.
I mean, he's not great on the mic, but that's why you got Paul Heyman.
Exactly. Yep.
And because he's bad on the mic, we have one of the best personalities on the mic probably ever.
Yes.
He's like all-time greats on the mic.
Yeah,
they
Paul
gave
Heyman. They gave him the right
only
guy.
Because he was bad on the mic. And it worked out pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I heard Vince talking to Stone Cold about Brock a little bit on the Stone Cold podcast a couple years ago, and he just mentioned, if we just had this guy show up every week and just bounce around and smile and say he's going to beat you up, you would be bored of him. Making sure that he's around once in a while. He's not talking a lot. He's got Heyman doing the storytelling. It keeps him interesting. It keeps those big fight feels for his matches.
That's true, but
there's a lot of upside.
It sucks that he has the Raw Championship belt held hostage until every single pay-per-view, where he ultimately F5s you to death, and that's it.
And I think I certainly have grown an appreciation for Roman Reigns in his absence, because Roman had the belt, was bringing it to Raw every week. I think the show was much, much better for it. The ratings were much, much better every week when Roman was bringing the belt every week.
It's just more fun when there's something at stake.
Yeah.
And there's nothing ever at stake on Raw because the main championship belt is never on Raw.
Yeah. And you just don't have a main event scene on Raw because of it. I mean, you look at SmackDown, you've got probably at least half a dozen guys you can rotate into the title picture at any time. You've got Samoa Joe, you've got Randy that you can throw up there, you've got Mysterio and Andrade you can throw up there, you can throw Mustafa Ali up there.
AJ
with
Styles,
with Raw, it's pretty much been Broman Strosner for a year and a half, and so now you've got 3 guys and one of them's never there. It's evident that they don't have a real main event seat on Raw.
Yeah, no doubt.
That is a major problem.
But as far as promos go for Paul Heyman, of course, masterclass. Brock Lesnar actually put some effort into it, and I appreciated that. Usually he's not so great on the promo side. And even Drew McIntyre was pretty good throughout this episode, although I don't know. I feel like his whole thing right now is kind of forced.
Look into my eyes. Look into my eyes.
Well, I'd be okay with it as long as he wasn't crouching every single time or crawling on his hands and feet. We saw him live.
Look into my eyes.
I say this every episode. He's huge. He's gigantic. He's like Undertaker sized. I don't understand why he doesn't play that up more. Instead, he curls into a little ball and tells you how he's going to fuck with you and whatever else. And I don't give a fuck. McIntyre. All right. I know you're listening to our very popular Insider podcast.
I know you're out there.
You're a great wrestler. You have the great moves. You got the great look. You got the great opening music. Why do you crouch into a tiny little ball all the time and diminish your character?
Yeah.
That's all I got to say about that.
Now you got a problem. You can do something about it. How about that?
Yeah. He's Dan Maloney. I don't know if you been watching NXT UK recently, but Dan Maloney's pretty jacked, and also apparently Spanish.
Get a ride.
All right.
Yeah, I do. I got a little tranquilo.
Surprising you do. Next up, we had Finn Balor and Braun Strowman in a tag team match against Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush. I enjoyed this more than you did, so this is our first point of contention on this episode.
Boring.
I actually liked Braun Strowman just demolishing Lio Rush pretty much the entire match. I loved how he was tossing him around like a rag doll and literally lifting him over his head and just tossing him to the other end of the ring. I found that quite amusing.
The power slam at the end was very fun to watch. I watched it.
It was
I think
very
a couple
good.
times.
It was very
That
good.
was a very entertaining power
Yes.
slam, and I'm sure that they needed a scraper to get Leo off the mat afterwards. So that part was fun. I find Strowman dealing with mid carders boring, no matter who the mid carders are. I find Lashley boring. So those two guys are so aggressively boring.
I think Lashley has so much wasted potential.
Yeah.
I feel like
I think Finn has wasted potential.
Well,
while we're on the subject.
Finn is a writing problem. I don't think Finn is a performance problem.
I think we've also. I mean, when I was watching those NXT
the shirt.
takeovers last weekend, yes, of course, the Finn mark. I was watching those takeovers, and just he had so much more offense in NXT, and I feel like his matches on the main roster are the same 5 moves. He does them very well.
Yeah,
I enjoy them.
that's fair.
But it's basically Sling Blade, it's double stomp, it's coup de grace. It's Sling Blade, it's double stomp, it's coup de grace, and occasionally he does the over the top rope
Sagiri.
spot.
Yeah.
He's his and I've read that his offense was forcibly limited by the WWE. He came over from New Japan. They told him, yeah, you're going to have to cut down on your moves. So he cut them down in NXT. And then when he came to the main roster, they said, yeah, you're going to have to cut down your moves even more. And now he has 5 moves. And his whole gimmick is I smile when I come to the ring. And I feel like he's one of the best wrestlers on the planet, and they are handcuffing him creatively with his character and in the ring with his moveset. And so it makes him boring to me, which is terrible for me to say because I love the guy.
I have a solution for you, and it might not be popular for the AB fans out there. But I think Finn Balor should turn. I think the Demon, who may or may not be making an appearance, we don't know. I think the Demon should corrupt him and make him turn. Because I think as a babyface, WWE is just going to always restrain him into this kind of shitty role. And I think if he turns, because of the influence of the Demon for the storyline, I think that would open possibilities for more moves, particularly more, menacing, maybe, I guess evil moves, that are more about making your opponent suffer than necessarily, overcoming them and becoming victorious. But I think that'd be a good way to give Finn a nice little push there. I don't think he's been a villain pretty much ever for most of his career.
Yeah, not on the main roster, really.
Yeah.
Not really on the main roster. I would like to see, I can think of some baby faces I would just like to I actually want him to, since we're just fantasy booking here, I would actually like to see him go to SmackDown while we're on the subject.
Yeah.
I can think of several combinations of matches I would like to see. I would like to see Finn Balor versus Andrade. I would like to see Finn Balor versus Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
I would like to see Finn Balor versus AJ Styles, which we've only seen once in the whole time on the main roster, even though they're the 2 top guys on the Balor Club. I don't know how that feud hasn't happened in an extended way yet. He had several classic matches with Samoa Joe in NXT. We could recreate that on the main roster. There's a whole world of possibility for him to get a recharge and a fresh start and have a bunch of good feuds and build up some momentum if he goes to SmackDown. So I think he's a prime candidate there.
No doubt. Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, he's been doing this a while. Who knows when he's going to want to retire,
Yeah,
I mean,
he's 37.
He's still doing it pretty well, but,
He is,
as he's getting into his 40s, are you really going to look back and think you did everything you could have to capitalize on his popularity?
Yeah,
probably not.
I think they're really wasting him right now. So,
but yeah, back to the match for the tag team match. I enjoyed Leo Rush getting thrown around. I feel bad for Leo Rush because every match is just him getting destroyed by either Bobby Lashley or somebody else.
The man of the hour,
and he's great. He's great at it.
Leo
He's
Rush.
great at getting his ass kicked every week. And when he's not getting his ass kicked, he's even better.
Yeah. He's a little douchey Mustafa Ali.
He really is. He is douchebag Mustafa Ali. But my other notes for this match kind of ruined by commercials. Again, it's one of those things where the match is finally getting good. There's finally some momentum, commercial break. And then everything comes back and everything's completely turned and the crowd is completely silent. And you're like, well, what the fuck? I have no idea what happened. I have no idea why this momentum turn happened. And why did, everybody was all excited a minute ago. And now after this commercial break, everybody's dead.
Everything's upside down.
And it happens so frequently and it's so frustrating. There's so many other ways you could get around that and still make your money. I think it's just blatant greed, honestly.
Yeah.
And
just don't think it's going away, unfortunately.
And I hate it.
Because they know you won't change the channel. That's how they get you.
Maybe I'll write some sternly worded letters to Fox and USA.
Prepare yourself.
Yeah.
Vince.
Fear me. Your $3 billion empire.
So I'm guessing
I got $20. Fear me.
So I'm guessing Moment of Bliss got cut from your version. Moment of Bliss?
No,
with Elias?
I did have Moment of Bliss later, but it didn't. It was weird because first we had the ref and security group coming at Rhonda, telling her, "Don't be bad again."
Oh yes,
and
yes.
she's like,
right.
"Oh, I will be bad again."
Yeah.
She does her goofy
Shut
walk.
up, stupid.
Beavis over there.
Do what I want.
Ronda Rousey looks a lot like Beavis from Beavis and
I
Butthead.
am Colonel Julio.
Especially when she's got her cornrows like all taped back and whatnot. But then we had the introduction of Moment of Bliss on the Hulu cut, and then immediately a commercial, and I saw nothing else.
Oh, okay.
I saw her say, "Hi,
Yeah.
I'm hosting WrestleMania," and then
Yeah.
it was done.
So they reminded you that Alexa Bliss existed,
That's-
which they thought was worthwhile.
Apparently.
So what happened on Moment of Bliss was Elias came out, and Alexa promised Elias he would not be interrupted on her show. Okay, so she gave her word on that. But he was. And it was by none other than No Way Jose, No Way Jose, with his conga line being led by none other than Otis Dozovich
Yes!
of Heavy Machinery,
Yes!
and he was
The
so
dozer.
into it. And that was the most wonderful thing about this segment.
I love
Unfortunately,
the
it all
dozer.
went downhill from there.
Again, another guy that Dan kind of introduced me to when he was in NXT.
Yeah, he can't not love the dozer.
Dude, Dozer is hilarious. He's fucking
Dozer
awesome.
is the best.
And I just love that. I love that whole tag team.
And I
They're
needed some comedy.
They
with
need to
my
be on
mouth.
TV more often. They're hilarious.
They're just great comic relief. And so he was leading the conga line, and Elias was obviously a little incensed that No Way Jose and his conga line were interrupting his Moment of Bliss segment. So he challenged No Way Jose to a match, an impromptu match.
Which Elias, of course, won, I'm guessing.
Elias won,
Oh,
yes.
of course.
That's the only reason No Way Jose comes on TV is to lose the couple times a year he does.
Yep.
The conga line was very disappointed, but they did dance their way out of the stadium after the loss. So
I wonder why Hulu cut it.
very, very important plot development there. So there you go. You're welcome.
Strong feud
You're welcome.
brewing there with Elias.
And you
and,
wonder why we disagree on Raw because I have to sit through this shit.
that's true. He does have to suffer far longer than I do.
I have to watch 3 full real time hours.
Yeah,
all right?
I see hour and a half
Yeah.
of Hulu cut. Thank
Yeah,
you.
So
Not
Easy
including
for you.
commercials, of course. Next up, we had the next entry into the Kurt Angle goodbye tour.
Mm-hmm.
Kurt Angle went up against Chad Gable, which you informed me had been a match that people had been begging for a long time, just because they both have the amateur wrestling background.
yeah, I believe Gable was. I may be mixing him up with Jason Jordan, but I believe Gable was an Olympic wrestler, not a medalist, but was on the Olympic team for wrestling.
Well,
I
if he
believe.
wasn't, I'll cut it.
Okay, very good.
You're
Make
welcome.
me look smart.
Yeah. But I will say this about the match. Again, feel good tour for Kurt Angle. I really hate watching him wrestle still because he's just so broken and it hurts me. It's physically painful to watch him wrestle. And when they're trying to showcase their amateur wrestling and Gable's just doing these clean, perfect sweeps and Kurt can't even bend over to attempt a sweep.
Yeah.
It was very painful to watch.
That was
And
what was ironically what should have been the good side. The technical wrestling prowess of both of them was actually the downside because he has no athleticism anymore, and that
can't bend
style
over.
requires the most athleticism of any style he could be with.
He's still
so
got the strength. He just
Yeah.
he can't bend over.
what was supposed to be the big positive everybody wanted to see became the negative because it
Yeah.
requires things physically he does not have.
Yeah, it's true. And I got some small notes for this match. The crowd, what are you doing, guys? You don't shout,
Yeah.
"This is awesome," when it's
Yeah,
clearly not
it's
awesome.
clearly not.
It's clearly not.
I think that was an anticipatory. This is
Yeah.
awesome. Like, we expect this to be awesome, but that's not a
Yeah.
catchy phrase, so
They-
we'll just say it's
They were
awesome.
literally just doing this for like
Yeah.
5 minutes, and they were shouting,
Yeah.
"This is awesome." I'm like, "No,
Yeah,
it's not."
it showed that there really has been that excitement to see that match forever, and
it just
and
never
it just kind of the
didn't happen.
excitement came
Yeah.
out, but then the actual product got
Yeah.
underway, and I was like, oh,
Just didn't happen in time.
Oh boy.
But it was a nice little thing there, and I didn't.
Yeah, it was fun.
I am enjoying the gesture towards Kurt Angle, and honestly, spoiler alert for the upcoming shows, I think it's getting better as we get closer to WrestleMania. We'll see how the whole Baron Corbin thing works out, but I think it's been pretty sweet, and I think it's a great send off to give him
Yes.
basically a full month to wrestle whoever he wants, wherever he wants, including his hometown and
you
all that.
can give up 8 minutes of your 3-hour show for one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah,
Go
no
off
doubt.
the way he wants to go off.
No doubt.
No problem.
Yeah. But yeah, the match was awful. It was really awful. It was really boring. I love Gable. I love Kurt Angle as a person, but not so much as an old man wrestler who's broken and beaten and really needs to take a vacation. Not because I dislike him, but because he's so broken.
He's done.
And I don't want him to die next year. You know, there's this thing in the Army. You know, I was in the Army. I was an infantryman. And there's this whole thing in the Army that sergeant majors, you know, once they get past a certain point, they don't want to retire. And it's because basically every sergeant major that retires usually dies within a few years of retirement. And it's not because of something dark like like suicide or anything like that. It's because they've gone so hard for so long that when they finally do stop, everything just collapses. Like they've been ignoring all these health problems, you know, their joints are failing, their body's breaking down, you know, they're only in their late 40s, early 50s, and they're dead. You know, and it's because they go so hard and abuse their body so hard and get so little sleep and, you know, eat so much shit food that, you know, that's shoveled down their necks on deployment and on field training and all this other stuff, you know. It's tough on your body, and I don't think professional wrestling's that far off in terms of how much you abuse your body, doing over 200 shows a year for decades, and really making this your entire life, probably sacrificing sleep, always, you know, jet lagged.
And Angle in particular, he had a severe problem with painkillers for better part of a decade at the height of his career, so that really took a hell of a lot out of his body too. So he's really got
no doubt about
rest
it.
up.
And I'm afraid of what's going to happen after he's finally, you know, putting his feet up and, you know, soaking his feet in the warm beaches of some nice vacation spot, because I fear that if he's inactive, that his body's just going to start catching up with him, and he's going to start having to pay for all the wear and tear he's put on that body.
Yeah. Hopefully they find something for him to do. They're typically pretty good about that in WWE, to their credit. They find things for guys to do.
But, of course, at the end, we get another Corbin interruption where he calls him out for being old and washed up and blah, blah, blah. And let's face it, he's kind of right. Which is kind of fun for the whole, you know,
every good
antagonistic
douchebag
thing.
is kind of right.
Yeah. I am enjoying Corbin's kind of antagonistic ways.
He is an old school heel. He is an old school heel.
He's such a good weasel.
That gets old school heat. There are not a lot of heels working today that get genuine boos from the audience. He gets real boos.
He's the type of villain that senile old grandmas would attempt to murder.
Because
they think he's really that guy.
Yeah, and children especially hate him too for the same reason.
It's like that story from Jake the Snake Roberts where he talked about an old granny that went up and tried to shoot him, and he ended up decking her in the face because she thought, you know, he was really that guy.
Yes.
But just crazy stuff.
Not a lot of guys get real booze the way Corbin does. So love him or hate him, he gets the booze.
Next up, we had a Sasha and Bayley match, tag team against Natalya and Beth Phoenix. Again, I think just an excuse to give Beth Phoenix some time to be in the ring leading up to the whole Hall of Fame thing. I noticed that Sasha is still wearing a lot of the back tape there.
Yeah, the rock tape.
Makes me wonder, you know, if she's still injured and she's just kind of playing through it to try to not get on Vince's bad side.
Yeah, I think she got a shoulder injury around the Royal Rumble time, and I think it's just been kind of a nagging deal. You know, they use that, but sometimes they use that rock tape just for normal aches and pains too. It's not always a real injury, so sometimes something will just be inflamed for a while and it'll just kind of be annoyed, even though you've got really no tissue damage or anything like that, and the rock tape just kind of alleviates it. So you'll see a lot of people with rock tape, even when they don't really have injuries, but she has been using it in the same area for a while, so hopefully whatever's nagging her in that shoulder area will clear up.
And just reading into it, again, filthy casual here, just reading into it, it seems like Bayley's been doing a lot of the heavy lifting in the ring
for sure
for this whole stretch that they've had the tag team title.
With the exception of the chamber match where Sasha really brought everything she had into that match. So big testament to her there, but definitely Bayley has been doing the bulk of the in-ring performing, and that's fine by me because, as everybody knows, Bayley's my favorite in-ring performer on the women's roster. So,
and you know, the match was fine. I didn't hate it, didn't love it. Again, you know, Bayley kind of taking the brunt of the abuse and the actual action there. And then the match got interrupted by Nia Jax and Tamina, which
Samoan Botcher House,
fine,
as I call them.
Okay. Not that the match was all that great to begin with, because let's face it, Natalya and Beth Phoenix are both strong powerhouse type wrestlers, but let's face it, they're pretty old, and it shows a little bit when you're wrestling the likes of Bayley and Sasha, who are just phenomenal.
Yeah, and young, in their primes.
Yeah, and I get it. It was a legacy thing, to try to help them out, boost them up a little bit, like give some respect to these, women who have been great wrestlers in the past.
Yeah,
and
legends.
Still are very good wrestlers, but it was not my type of match. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought the setup, I think they were building towards WrestleMania already a little bit. So Boss 'n' Hug did say that they would challenge the Iconics on the following night's SmackDown. Divas Doom and Boss 'n' Hug had a little bit of a promo face-off where I thought it was interesting how they built heat between these two obvious babyface teams, and that Bayley kind of accidentally insulted Beth Phoenix by saying like, oh, you've been out of the game for a while. Are you sure you don't want more time to prepare for WrestleMania and everything?
But Bayley's so bad on the mic that I didn't buy any of it.
Natalya got a little angry, insulted Bayley, who then got the boss in her face, and so then they had a match over it, and the match wasn't great. I hate to admit this, but I want to love Boss 'n' Hug as a tag team, but I don't. I really, really love them both as
I'm glad you're finally joining the dark side.
I'm finally admitting it. I've tried not to. I think, I want to be clear, I think they're doing the right thing with them by having them spearhead the new tag division. They are the only sources of credibility in this division right now. They had to be the first champions. They have to be champions for a while to establish the credibility of the division because of their names and who they are and how good they are.
Speaking of the division, Division 2, very good. Very good. Continue.
Okay. So the women's tag division without them is a trash heap. So, I don't love them as a tag team. If it's up to me, they're both competing as singles competitors and in the title picture because they're both such phenomenal wrestlers. I want to see them have singles wrestling matches for extended periods of time.
And that's what I think they should be doing.
And I don't know what it is about their tandem offense, but I never like it or buy it. They do that little Bayley picks Sasha up, and then they do this weak-ass little drop kick thing. Like, I don't know what that is. It looks like you're hitting someone with your baby. And then they do that thing where they join hands and they do a double up. They have one good move, which is the need a hug, which is the Sasha backstabber into the Bayley to belly, the need a hug. That's my favorite. That's the one tandem move they do that I really like. But their gimmicks are incongruous. I mean, legit boss and the hugger.
They just don't work together.
How does the legit boss and the hugger possibly have anything in common gimmick-wise?
That's how I feel about Ricochet and
Aleister Black.
I just don't. They don't work together.
It does not work together.
They're both great independent wrestlers, but they just don't work together.
Yeah, two phenomenal individual wrestlers, and the fact that they are such good friends in real life and have such a strong relationship, I really like that. And for that reason too, I try to really like them as a tag team, but I don't. And I'm looking forward to them going back to being singles competitors, but I understand that they are definitely needed to establish this division for now, so we just gotta accept it.
Yep. Next up on my version of Raw, we had Ronda Rousey go up against Dana Brooke.
Oh, see, you missed the best wrestler of the company right before that.
Oh, did I?
Jinder Mahal finally got on TV.
Maharaja. All right.
I will actually say that surprisingly, Jinder Mahal was involved in one of the only positives I wrote down for Raw this week.
Wow.
Because he wrestled Ricochet.
Thank you, Ricochet.
So Ricochet was kind of Jinder Mahal's cheat code. They had a brief 8-minute or so match, and Ricochet did Ricochet things, so I was entertained.
Jinder Mahal is just another one of those guys that has the perfect look and gimmick, but he's just...
And a banger of an entrance music, by the way. Banger entrance music.
But he's just terrible in the ring.
Just terrible.
Just terrible.
Once his music stops,
awful in
I'm
the
just
ring.
depressed. I'm so happy when I hear his music, and then once it stops, I get depressed.
He's got everything else. Everything else is A+.
Yes.
But he's just F in the ring.
He finally got on TV to put Ricochet over, so that's what happened there.
And so next in my version, we had the Ronda Rousey versus Dana Brooke, which is just a thing for the sake of being a thing, where Dana Brooke just instantly gets squashed and armbarred, and then Ronda Rousey is fighting with people and refs, because we got to sell her as being the badass, and then her super giant husband was there to kind of help her out. And then he picks her up like a little rag doll and puts her on the other side of the barricade.
That annoyed me.
And when I saw that, I was like, okay, you're trying to make her such a badass, but then you make her husband just kind of pick her
Carry
up.
her away like she's a child, like she's a 6-year-old in the grocery store throwing a fit because you won't buy her Cocoa Crisps.
I was like, oh,
really?
all right, okay, he got to be on the show, and that's fine. And it was okay when he was helping her wrestle, like fight people off, but when he picked her up like a little toddler,
that just made it ridiculous.
So that I was not a fan of.
I hope he doesn't get
all.
involved at WrestleMania, or I'll be pretty angry.
That would be pretty
That
shitty.
would be pretty shitty.
Pretty shitty. Nothing against the guy. I just don't think he has a role in the storyline whatsoever.
No, one-off thing to help fight, whatever. But yeah, the rest of it, not good.
Yeah.
And did you see Cruz and Corbin next?
I did not.
So the next match, Baron Corbin versus Apollo Crews, because reasons. This match definitely existed. And ultimately,
I can see why I can see why your rating went lower and lower compared to mine.
Yeah. So anyway,
the Hulu cut is the way to go. Apparently,
Apollo Crews did do fun Apollo Crews things like he always does. He always shows off that mixture of athleticism and strength that he has.
Yeah.
So that was fun, but it was pretty much just a match. And Apollo Crews pulled the upset with a roll-up, which I don't know if that's the best decision when you're trying to build Baron Corbin as the career ender of Kurt Angle, but that's what they went with. So
okay.
There you go.
Well, good for Apollo Crews. Getting some spotlight there.
Got a W.
You got a paycheck there.
I like Apollo.
Next up, I had the Batista interview where he's in this kind of Scarface, Miami cokehead like studio.
Clearly filming a B mobster movie and just decided not to get out of character before doing
probably
this
on
interview.
set of the Marine 8 or 9 or the Marine 10.
I'm here to talk about the drug money. I mean Triple H. That's what I meant to say.
I made Triple H an offer. He can't refuse.
Let me tell you something, Hunter. You broke my heart. Yeah. Give me my I did like the part of this promo where he talked about how manipulative Triple H is and, all the dirty tricks that he pulled back in the day and all this kind of stuff, because that is stuff
called the cerebral assassin for a reason.
This is stuff that people really knew about Triple H in the early 2000s and the late 90s, is that he was a manipulator. He was the cerebral assassin. He was kind of a dirty player in the politics of wrestling, as anyone who's familiar with the clique knows. So I did like that he touched on some of that stuff without breaking kayfabe openly. It's just like, he's talking about non-kayfabe stuff, but he's not actually breaking it. So I did like that. I do think what he's doing with his character is interesting. I don't know. A satellite interview with Michael Cole is not the best way to do anything for me.
Yeah, it was a little weird. I don't know what the end result was for this whole storyline. I don't think it did anything, because everything he said was pretty vague.
Yeah.
And just, there to be there. But hey, it's a thing.
It's a thing. And I love the animal. As you know, I'm a big Batista mark.
Yep.
I hate to admit it because there's many reasons to hate the guy, but when I was 14 years old, Batista was the shit. And every time I hear his music, I will mark out, and there's nothing I can do about it. So.
Batista came right when I stopped wrestling, or stopped watching wrestling.
Yeah.
Right around age, 14, 13, I'm only, 10 months older than you.
11 months older than me. Something like that.
So, I was right around that age when I stopped paying attention to wrestling during the John Cena era. Pretty much John Cena ruined wrestling for me, and I just never...
Yeah, me too. I just held in there a little longer.
I disliked the whole gimmick and the character so much, and it just became so much part of the culture that I just didn't want any part of it.
I mean, he just buried the whole roster was the problem.
Yeah, and so I quit watching. I quit enjoying it.
But he didn't bury Batista, which was... Batista was one of the few lights in the dark age of Cena.
Yeah, and I remember him, being introduced. I remember him in his first few matches, but that's pretty much all I got, back when he had hair.
Yes.
And his glorious soul patch, which I love.
I look forward to seeing another Batista bomb after all these years, I gotta say. Looking forward to that. I'm not generally looking forward to this match at WrestleMania because I feel like it'll be two 50-year-olds wrestling for 30 freaking minutes because Triple H doesn't know how to wrestle for less than 30 minutes, but I just love Batista, so that'll help carry it a little bit for me.
I think Batista still got it.
Think so?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think you'll be pleasantly...
It's hard with the big, strong dudes. They tend to age worse than...
That's true.
That's the tough part.
But he's been doing the movies.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. He's had to stay fit.
Surely Drax the Destroyer is ready to go.
Surely.
And
how will Triple H ever see him?
He's got that in his back pocket.
I'm looking forward to the match, probably more than most people are. But I don't have that legacy build up like you had with Batista, so I don't I don't have quite that connection. Most of what I know is from you
by
proxy or by just watching old matches on, WWE Network. So we'll see how it turns out. I have some faith that it's going to be okay. I think everybody's just panicking for no reason. I think it'll be okay.
Chris the Optimist. What's happening here?
I know. Tables are completely flipped. But there's so many matches at WrestleMania. I don't see how it can stretch on for too long. Like it's got to be like a 10-minute match maybe. I'd hope.
Oh, no. I think it'll be on the wrong end of 20 minutes, my friend. I'm
Wow.
predicting it right now.
Oh,
no
wow.
holds barred. Batista's retirement match.
Save it for the prediction
Triple
podcast,
H.
sir.
Yeah, right.
Under
If you've seen
over.
Triple H,
We'll take bets on
if you've
Saturday.
seen one big Triple H match, you know I'm right. The man works at a snail pace.
And then we had the final main event of the show. For me, we had Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins, where Drew McIntyre has been systematically going through the entire cast of S.H.I.E.L.D. and destroying them. In this match, Drew McIntyre once again, more or less, destroys the S.H.I.E.L.D. In this case, Seth Rollins. I will say this was a little weird. I didn't like the whole breaking kayfabe that was going on, calling him Joe when he was talking about Roman Reigns.
Yeah, and he basically said he was tougher than cancer. Basically said you had cancer, but you haven't met a challenge like me. Like, what? What?
Which is...
You're tougher than leukemia?
It's not...
Is that what you're saying?
Which is not...
I don't understand.
Yeah, which is... I don't think leukemia does any, power bombs or... I don't know.
I guess.
It's not McIntyre's fault.
You don't need chemo for a Claymore kick as a counterpoint.
It's clearly not McIntyre's fault.
This is Vince. This is Vince.
This is the script through and through.
This is Vince.
Has nothing to do with McIntyre. He was selling it as good as he possibly could.
I guarantee you the decision to talk about leukemia in a storyline is 100% Vince.
But I think after that, in my opinion, this is the best McIntyre's been on the mic after the whole kayfabe breaking part was over. Specifically when he was talking about Seth Rollins, not about how he's going to shit on Joe, aka Roman Reigns.
I'm begging you to say no, Joe.
Because my brain automatically pictures Samoa Joe when he says Joe. So when he calls him Joe and he's obviously breaking kayfabe, it just doesn't work at any point. And
especially when he's talking to a Samoan Joe.
It's something, it's something that's been happening a lot recently with the whole kayfabe thing. And it's, at first I was like, specifically for the Triple H one, I was like, okay, that makes sense because there's so much between these two guys. There's so much history between them. Okay, it makes sense.
I didn't like that one either.
For this one, I'm like, it's the last straw. We had Ronda Rousey breaking kayfabe.
It started with Ronda.
We had Triple H breaking kayfabe. We have Batista breaking kayfabe. Now we have Drew McIntyre breaking kayfabe. We have Baron Corbin breaking kayfabe, and it's just it's not. It
started with Ronda Rousey's fucking Twitter, and it just snowballed out of control the last few weeks.
It's one thing if it happens like once in a blue moon to add extra effect to something, like when the GOAT got just brutalized by Batista. That's when I was like, okay, he's selling it extra because we witnessed him attack the GOAT on his 70th birthday. Okay, it makes more sense. It kind of sells it a little better. But then it just snowballed, and now it's at this point. Same with the Ronda thing, same with the Drew McIntyre thing and the Baron Corbin thing. It's just too much.
It's too much.
It's too much winking at the audience, and I don't like it.
I did write that down as our next big topic when we have a big topic. So
yeah,
we
haven't had a topic for about 3 shows now.
We will be talking much more about this though in a soon.
We have a list of topics that we have prioritized that will be coming down the line once we get caught up, and WrestleMania is finally over with. But other on this, I thought it was a pretty good match. Seth Rollins and McIntyre are both really good wrestlers.
Monday Night Rollins.
So
Monday Night Rollins delivers.
Again, fuck commercials because they kept interrupting good parts. I wrote my notes before the match was over. I kind of want McIntyre to win because I'm enjoying how he's just decimating the Shield. And then he does win. And I was stoked, except it was because Brock Lesnar became a distraction.
Yeah, I mean, you can't have Brock Lesnar's challenger at WrestleMania lose clean. At
which
this point.
I understand.
You know,
I understand, but
I thought that was a good workaround.
I did think it was still a ballsy move to have him pin Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
I was like, nice.
I think that
nice.
was
That was ballsy. You took a risk and it paid off, and I like it.
This way, you protect Rollins, who is the #1 contender for the Universal Championship, and you also make Drew be able to say, "I've destroyed 2/3 of the Shield. You're last. You know, you're next on my list."
And I really am liking the whole Drew McIntyre decimating the Shield to prove a point thing, to prove that he's the biggest badass on the in the ring, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I love that. I love when he was doing that whole dynamic with Finn Balor before, and I think it works best for him when he's not shrinking into a tiny little ball. So more or less on the main fight there with Seth Rollins, I gave the show a 7 out of 10. Of course, I was not. Now, this is Raw standards. This is not SmackDown standards.
Yes.
SmackDown standards, this would be like a 5.
I will not grade on a curve.
But
all right,
let's face it, Raw is what it is, and I'm going to be kind.
This is your flagship show.
This is
you have the highest
it's
standards.
A 7 Raw.
7.
It's a flat 7, no extra, no extra credit, nothing there. I gave it a 7, and I'm sticking to it.
I gave it a 2.5.
God damn.
I wrote down
brutal.
worst Raw of 2019. And I wrote down that the absolute only juice on the entire show for me was a Ricochet and Monday Night Rollins.
Now,
Those were the only 2 parts
You
I
were
enjoyed.
also subjected to far more suffering than I was.
I was. But I also got Ricochet, which you didn't. So I got a little boost.
That
was one of the 2 things I liked. So thank you, Ricochet, and thank you, Seth Rollins, for your efforts to keep this from being a 0. But that was all 2 things I enjoyed in 3 hours.
Yep.
This was a dumpster fire for me.
And once again, on these past few episodes, we have been opposed on Raw. Clearly, we are
very polarized.
We have different expectations for Raw, and I
am not sports entertained.
Are receiving different things from Raw. Next up, we got SmackDown. This one for March 19th, I believe. We open with The Miz coming out to address.
I know it's very prominent. It's something very prominent in your notes. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Oh, yeah. First, we had The Miz come out and address everything that's been happening. We haven't really seen him or heard from him since Fastlane, where his father and
Mr. Potato Face, as he's called now,
and his stepfather and Shane O'Mac went at it, and Shane O'Mac abused his biological father,
Mr. Potato Face,
and made him suffer publicly, and shamed him on the show following that we attended on SmackDown.
That's right.
And I gotta hand it to The Miz. He does everything well.
Fantastic.
He sold the anger so well.
You felt emotion from
and I was like, he sold the puppy dog eyes when they were best friends and he failed him. He sold the suffering when Shane O'Mac attacked his father and him, and now he's selling the anger perfectly.
There's a reason this guy is the A-lister. Okay, he's the A-lister for a reason.
Yep.
This is why they pegged him to be the star of the Marine Six.
Yes,
okay,
no doubt. I love Miz.
Love Miz.
I love everything about him.
So
he cracks
good.
me up, and when he wants to be serious and emotional, he sells it so well.
Absolutely.
And I'm all about this.
You not only felt his anger, but you felt the pain that was underlying that anger at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, this was really deep stuff. I mean, if I ever have a complaint about The Miz, is that his actual acting is really good, but you don't always feel the genuine emotion all the way. Like, the acting you see is good and you hear it, but you don't always feel it, and you really felt it.
I felt it this time.
You felt it
for sure.
So this was a great
and shout
promo.
out to the camera work. The camera work was perfect.
Yes, it was.
They caught his angry, disgusted eyes perfectly.
Yeah,
it was very well.
Fantastic promo.
Very well sold. And then the next thing we saw on SmackDown was Boston Hug versus the Iconics, which was fucking interrupted by Lacey Evans. Right there in my notes. Yeah.
Not a Lacey Evans fan.
Fuck Lacey Evans. Fuck this whole first woman of wrestling thing.
Yeah.
I don't need to fucking see her interrupting it. We got commercial breaks interrupting everything. We don't need Lacey Evans and then a commercial break and then missed, half the match.
What
and
are
it's
they
over.
doing?
I hate it.
What are they doing
I
with
hate
her?
it. If you need to give her a paycheck, make her do something.
What is the end game?
Make her do anything.
What's the end game of this?
I hate
It's
it.
so bizarre.
It's really bizarre, and it fucking sucks. And I wish it would. I wish it would fucking stop.
I can understand doing it once in a while at a pay-per-view to give her a pay-per-view paycheck, but you don't need to do it on SmackDown and Raw every week.
It's
just no reason.
It's
for
too
that.
much. It's unnecessary. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of effort. It's probably a waste of a paycheck. Just stop.
But this match wasn't very good, in my opinion. So this wasn't one of the more egregious interruptions.
See, this is one of the things where we're probably not going to agree. I didn't think it was that bad. I said, other than the Lacey Evans issues, it was pretty enjoyable. Of course, the Iconics cheat to win because that's what they do.
Yeah.
And
the minute the match was announced, I said, "Yeah, Peyton Royce is going to roll up Sasha," I think, and
that's what happened.
Saw that coming.
Yeah,
Iconics got to be built up as a credible contender. So
but
that's the way to do it.
Of course, no belt because no belt was on the line. But I did enjoy it, and honestly, anything that gives me hope that the belt will be taken away from Sasha and Bayley, so they won't be a tag team anymore, that makes me happy. Even if it does go to the fucking Iconics.
Yeah,
who are a joke.
I did not like this match. I don't like the Iconics in the ring in general. I just don't think they're very good. I love Sasha and Bayley individually. I don't love them as a tandem.
I said that, and I said that about the Iconics until Fastlane, and the Iconics actually impressed me.
I mean,
I do enjoy the kind of comic relief match. You know?
I mean,
when it's done well, it's very enjoyable.
When they're one feature, it's fine. But I definitely don't want to see them have the tag belts. I don't want to see them wrestling as a tag team every week. And
that's true.
I don't think they're very good in the ring, and part of it is just their offense. I mean, Peyton Royce's offense is not believable. Peyton Royce doesn't look like she can crack an egg, and you're trying to believe that she is out there beating the hell out of the women's champions. I cannot buy it. I cannot get into it. This felt like another botch fest to me. I really didn't like it at all. But I will say that it was nice to see Bayley on SmackDown for the first time ever in her career. First time ever that Bayley's been on SmackDown.
How is that possible?
She's been on Raw since she came up to the main roster.
Really?
Yeah. She was the last of the horsewomen that came up to the main roster, and she has been on Raw that entire time.
Never any crossovers or anything?
Not one time.
Wow.
Never.
That's
Never
insane.
been on SmackDown. So her SmackDown debut. So good to see Bayley in between blue ropes. That was about all the good things I have to say about this match. Did not like it at all.
Yep. Next up, we had Rey Mysterio with his little promo with his son. And quite frankly, I think he needs to take a DNA test because there's no fucking way, unless he's married to fucking Wonder Woman herself, that kid is his. That kid is...
Maybe his wife is Brittany Griner and we just don't know about it.
His wife is fucking China. Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, she must be 9 feet tall and then he just averages out.
Dude, he was another human being taller than Rey Mysterio. Another human being tall.
Yeah, I kind of want Rey to be replaced with Dominic for the match at WrestleMania just to see what happens,
It was bad.
I'm curious to see if he's going to get involved in that match or in some capacity. Maybe Joe's going to, go after
fuck up his
giant Rey Jr.
Yeah.
We'll see. Something to keep an eye on.
That kid is so huge. How is that his kid?
I have no idea.
I honestly wonder if they have taken a DNA test. Honestly.
Maybe tallness skips a generation.
I mean, I'm taller than both my father, my mother, our mother.
Yeah.
Pretty much everybody in the family I'm taller than. I'm only 5'11". I'm not. Our family's pretty short all around.
Yeah.
But I didn't grow another human being taller.
Yeah.
That is a
giant.
drastic difference.
He's giant.
Unless that kid was being fed steroids and
given
growth
Mysterio's
hormone
only
his
like-
entire life.
If you give him Mysterio's only like 5'6", so he's gonna look bigger next to him too.
But that kid's like 7 foot tall.
He's like 6'2".
That's still huge compared to Rey Mysterio.
Maybe it's just it's a dominant trait that comes from the mother's side, because she's not a guy.
What is she, a
doesn't
horse?
get it.
What the fuck is going on there?
Yeah, it's odd.
But yeah, it looked like the kid was having fun.
And he does have wrestling ambitions, so
yeah, cool.
I believe he's done some.
He looks
work
like Walter.
already. Rey Mysterio has actually said that he wants to wrestle his son before he dies.
Wow,
retires.
We got dark there. Damn.
Wow. Okay.
Not much left in the tank for Rey Mysterio.
Yeah,
apparently.
I'm feeling a little
running
depressed.
on empty.
Yeah, he's on his last legs.
See,
clearly,
we talk about Raw for too long, and Dan just starts thinking about death.
I just do. I was thinking about what I wanted to do after watching Raw last week. Is why it slipped out like that.
Yeah.
No, Mysterio has many more years. He could still hit a reverse Rano with the best of them at 44. So I think he's good.
Watch Rey Mysterio and Andrade go at it for another half-hour match,
please.
And it's clear that he has much left in the tank.
Fight forever.
But yeah, it was kind of cute. His son looked like he was having a good time. Bray looked like he was having a good time. Still don't believe it's his son, but well, to each their own. If he's adopted, great.
Yeah.
But there's no way that's your biological son, and I refuse to believe it until I see the DNA test that proves otherwise.
I'm sure they'll get right on that.
But they announced Mysterio and Samoa Joe will be going at it for the U.S. Championship at WrestleMania, adding yet another match to WrestleMania.
That should be awesome.
But Samoa Joe and Mysterio are fucking awesome, and it should be a fucking awesome match. We'll see what the end result is at WrestleMania. Perhaps a prediction is in order. Next up, we had the Kevin Owens show.
The return of the Kevin Owens show.
Clearly, Dan was all about it.
I love Kevin Owens.
I do love him as a show host. It was quite entertaining.
He's amazing at everything.
We had Becky Lynch still doing the whole limp thing when she came out, which is annoying to me because I'm so sick of this fake leg injury thing. But it was finally over.
Kayfabe, sir.
It's fake.
Kayfabe.
It's fake.
Shut up, Rhonda.
Fake.
Shut up, Rhonda.
Fake. Fake leg. It's a bad. If it was a good gimmick,
Shut up, Beavis.
If it was a good reason to be kayfabe, I would be okay with it. It's not a good reason to be kayfabe.
Hey, Beavis, why don't you go get some teepee for your bunghole and just stop it right now?
That kayfabe moment is the reason we had to watch fucking Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch go at it with a fucking crutch for like an hour before Ronda finally ended it in disqualification.
That was an abomination.
It was fucking painful, and it wouldn't have had to happen if not for the kayfabe injury.
That was abhorrent.
It was just awful. Horrendous, disgusting. I never want to see it again.
But the Kevin Owens show was awesome.
It was awesome. We had Charlotte Flair come out and start talking shit. And, of course, Kevin Owens kind of instigating things, which is always fun.
Hey, Becky, do you remember when Charlotte said this horrible thing? And Charlotte, do you remember when Becky said this horrible thing?
Wow. How do you feel about that
I mean, there may be no more talking to be done here. You might just have to fight it out at this point. And then he slowly removes himself from the ring like the little instigator that he is.
I love it, and
he is the best.
I put my notes. He is wrestling Jerry Springer, and I love it.
He's the best. He's the best at everything. The brawl wasn't very good.
The brawl was what it's been for the past 2 months.
It was very half-assed.
The past 2 months has been nothing but half-assed brawls for no reason, and yeah, that's it.
But I do want to insert one positive thing to say about Becky, which is as overbooked and horrible as this storyline and feud has been, and as unwatchable as it's been, Becky's still really fucking over. She gets huge Becky chants in every arena she enters, and those man shirts and signs are everywhere. So she is somehow enduring this horrible storytelling and remaining super popular regardless.
I had a lot more respect and a higher opinion of her before this whole story arc kind of ruined her character for me. Now it's just kind of dead. That's just my opinion. It's dead.
But she's getting those fan reactions.
There's still loyalists that are there and still pushing for her. But
they're not just loyalists. I mean, this is the mass. There's a huge number of people that still love the man. She gets the biggest pops everywhere she done
shit for like 2 months.
I mean, the story sucks.
Except limp around and get beat up.
Yeah. I mean, the story sucks. I'm just saying that it's impressive that her popularity has endured the horrible story.
That's true. I mean, we see every event we go to, we see the man shirts everywhere, including his.
Yeah, of course.
So,
I love the man.
Next up, we had a nice promo from the Planet's champion, Daniel Bryan himself. And he actually made a nice point. Kofi lost and was a replacement. He has a point.
And he also pinned the WWE champion in the original gauntlet match, sir. 1, 2, 3. Off the Trouble in Paradise, sir.
Was it for the title?
No. But it was a clean
Daniel
pin.
Bryan is a champion.
You pin the champ,
he wins,
you get a shot at the champ.
He wins when he needs to win.
Oh, is that what it is?
That was about sending a message to the fickle and impotent citizens out there.
I wish I had a pancake to slap you with right now.
I actually love everything about the Planet's champion.
He is fantastic. I described him yesterday as the heel of my dreams.
Well, I fully expect them to capitalize on the Kofi mania and have Kofi beat him for the title. I do not want this
Save it for the prediction show.
I don't want this gimmick to end. I really don't.
It's fantastic.
And I love the belt. I don't want the belt to go away.
Oh, it's going away.
Although we're probably going to get a pancake belt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably going to happen.
Bootio side plates.
Next up, we had the gauntlet match. Finally, First up, we had Kofi versus The Bar. In my notes, I put it was kind of weirdly technical to start off, like very technical, which you don't see from Kofi very often. But of course,
you do see from The Bar.
You do see from The Bar. They gave a lot of cred to Cesaro. Cesaro was getting some nice spots in there, and Sheamus wasn't a pushover either. He was beating the hell out of Kofi Kingston for a little while there.
Yeah, I thought they both looked tough. I was happy with how both were portrayed,
and
because you knew they were taking the loss.
Yeah.
So at the very least, you want them to look like they're not pushovers, and neither of them looked that way.
Yeah, absolutely, and it made me happy because I think The Bar is such a great tag team. They're one of the great tag teams, along with like the Usos, and like. They're one of the great tag teams that's in the sport right now, and they've been just eating pins for weeks on weeks. They
are slumping big.
Just because they don't have anything story-wise to do with them other than to have them be kind of Vince's go-to, bad guys to come in and generically do stuff. And
they've got a lot of credibility built up from their tag team title run and all the good things they did in that time. So they've been drawing heavily on that credibility. They've been making a lot of withdrawals and not making a lot of deposits into that bag. So at some point soon they're gonna have to turn it around. But I did think both of them look pretty tough. Sheamus got pinned with the Trouble in Paradise just out of nowhere, and then Cesaro got pinned with the SOS eventually. But both of them put up tough fights, so I was happy with that.
Yeah, and I really respect Cesaro as a wrestler. Like I know Sheamus is the guy that's always the face of the group, that's always the one that gets pushed, but Cesaro is a fucking phenomenal wrestler. Phenomenal.
He's a freak.
Everything
athlete.
he does is so clean, so smooth. He's so fucking strong.
He's so strong. Technically sound.
I kind of feel bad because Sheamus is the guy that got his solo push for a while there and then went into the tag team scene with him.
Yeah, Sheamus is much more decorated.
But Cesaro never really got that chance, I don't think.
Yeah. And he's not the kind of guy to complain for it, even if he deserves it.
And if there was a future Kofi to be, I think it's Cesaro. The guy that's been perennially disrespected is pretty much only recognized as part of a group. Where he's not necessarily the most flashy part of that group, but he is extremely good in the ring and well deserving of a nice solo push. And once this whole storyline situation is, hammered out, as much as I love The Bar as a tag team, I would really love to see Cesaro get a nice push, even if he is, obviously a villain or something like that, because he is so good at wrestling.
Fantastic.
He's so good at wrestling.
He might be the most underrated guy on the roster.
Yeah, and I know he doesn't necessarily have the perfect look. He's kind of a balding guy.
Yeah.
He's not as big as Sheamus, even though he is pretty big.
He looks like a douchey European, though, which is his gimmick, so he does fit for that.
But I think he's awesome, and I really think he needs a push.
Absolutely.
But Kofi got his ass kicked for 10 minutes, 15 minutes straight by The Bar.
Yeah, he really, he is the underdog face in peril kind of guy for most of his matches, and then he just finds a way to pull it out, and he really stuck to that formula for these matches.
Which was fun. It was exciting. It was a great match.
Yeah, it was just how I wanted it to go.
Yeah.
It was just how I wanted it to go.
I honestly don't think they could have done it better for having The Bar go up against Kofi Kingston in that moment, where you clearly have to go through the rest of the gauntlet afterwards.
Yes.
Next up, we had Rowan come out and just destroyed Kofi, but of course he got disqualified because in Rowan fashion, he smashed Kofi through a table.
Iron Claw through the announce table.
It was fucking amazing. Again, I love the Planet's champion. I love Rowan. I love everything about this. I recognize that Kofi is the guy that's building up to be the champion, but man, am I loving the ride. I love Rowan and Daniel Bryan. And the whole gimmick, and I love that Rowan didn't lose. He just got himself disqualified for being a brutal beast.
Yeah, that was a good way out. That was a good way out.
Excellent way out. Yeah.
For him to lose, he had to lose, but they didn't want to make this monster unable to beat down Kofi.
SmackDown so much better.
Yeah.
So much more well planned.
Again, I keep saying it.
SmackDown.
How is this the same company?
It's insane. Raw, what are you doing?
How is this the same company?
Next up, we had Samoa Joe come out and beat on him pretty good.
Another extended beatdown.
And then, of course, as Joe usually does when he loses, he gets rolled up.
I call him Samoa Joe up because I have never seen anybody get roll-up pinned as often as he does.
It's pretty much the only way he loses.
That's his last 3 matches.
He either loses
the last 3 times he's wrestled now. He's been rolled up every time.
He either loses by disqualification or he loses by getting rolled up. Yeah. That's pretty much it.
And spoiler alert, he was not done getting rolled up for this week.
So, yeah, look forward to that. Next up, we had Randy Orton come out. And again, fucking A-class fucking writing from the staff. Perfect awareness, perfect fan recognition. This was winking at the audience in a way that was appropriate, that worked to make an emotional moment. We had Randy Orton during the match, obviously beating the hell out of Kofi for a little bit there, calling back to that moment where he's calling stupid. Just awesome.
Fantastic.
Perfect.
Fantastic. And Randy, by the way, is a pro because he made sure he got Kofi into position and he made sure all the cameras got nice and close so that the microphones would pick him up saying it. And once they were in position, that's when he let out the stupid. It
was perfect. Perfect.
Amazing. I love when Randy is actually trying. Because when Randy is actually trying, he can tell a story with
phenomenal.
anybody. He can wrestle with anybody.
Yeah.
He is one of the greats when he's really trying.
No doubt.
And that felt like he felt like a real villainous asshole in that moment. Like you really felt it. He was toying with this guy whose career he had buried, and the lines of reality were blurred in a nice way instead of a moment ruining way. And Randy's just doing great work lately.
Yeah, it's been honestly, if it was Randy Orton in the role that Daniel Bryan has right now, I think that would work way better.
Yeah, that's a perfect final boss for his redemption tour. Because that was the boss that killed him last time.
And I really doubt this would happen, if they let Daniel Bryan retain at WrestleMania, I think it would be awesome if Randy Orton was the next guy to go after. Like, that's the guy.
Well, even if Kofi wins the championship, Randy can be his first challenger.
It's true. It's true.
It might be good.
But just Class A writing, Class A event, great wrestling from everybody involved. Again, big shout out to Cesaro. The more I see the guy, the more I love and respect him. And you say I'm a mark for Finn, say I'm a mark for Aleister Black, say I'm a mark for Asuka. Like, you're right.
Yes.
But damn, Cesaro's up there.
Yeah.
He's fucking up there.
Wow.
I honestly
entered your top 5?
Yeah, probably.
Impressive.
I fucking love Cesaro.
Boy.
He's great. But
Chris loves him some uppercuts.
I do. I like me some strong boys. But yeah, of course, Kofi wins, as you would expect, leading up to WrestleMania.
Joyous. Such a great moment. Oh, wait, but there's 8 minutes of showtime left. I wonder what they're going to do with that.
The boss comes out. So,
Kofi, you're not going to WrestleMania. XFL, you're not the man. I'm the man. B+. You're fired.
We're having too much fun with this.
Vince impressions are fun.
So, of course, Mr. McMahon himself comes out to address the victor of the gauntlet. Of course, as a great villain does, he keeps setting up these impossible standards that Kofi can't hope to overcome. And they send out Daniel Bryan.
You've just got to defeat one more man.
The planet's champion! Fickle!
And of course, no chance.
No.
Not going to beat Daniel Bryan
Not after
getting
that.
beat down by 5 people.
No.
That's just not happening.
No. You would struggle to beat Daniel Bryan.
Yes.
Without getting
hard
your
enough
ass
to
kicked.
beat him any other time.
But Kofi's done it.
Trouble in
Hashtag
paradise.
Kofi Mania. But don't beat the planet's champion. I need that belt to stay.
Some things are more important than the planet, sir.
Yeah.
Like pancakes.
How dare you? Although I'll take some bootios right now. But yeah, I think overall, with the exception of the Miz promo at the beginning, I thought the first half of the show was kind of weak, very promo heavy. So I only docked it a little bit, but in the end, I gave it an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed SmackDown. The main event was amazing.
Yeah.
From start to finish, the writing on SmackDown just looks so good, especially when it's compared to the shitstorm that is Raw. And of course, I was grading Raw on a curve, but if I was holding Raw up to the standard of SmackDown, like Raw would be like a 4 or a 5. Like that, SmackDown is just such a good product right now.
Good.
And if you are not watching SmackDown because you like NXT or whatever, throw SmackDown in there every week because it's worth it.
Yeah.
Raw, not so much, but SmackDown is fucking worth it.
They don't just set the bar. They are the bar.
They really are, though.
Yeah, I gave it an 8.5. I loved Miz's promo a lot. Again, I hate to say this because I'm a women's wrestling mark, but the women drag this show down.
It really, yeah.
Boston Hug and Iconics.
Big reason why
enjoy
I
it
knocked
all.
it down.
The KO Kevin Owens was fantastic on the KO show as always. He is hilarious. He is charming. He's fantastic. Everything he does. But the brawl itself was really poorly done. I don't know what was going on with Charlotte and Becky, or if they were lacking sleep, or what was going on.
It was cringeworthy.
It was very half-assed.
Yep.
Gauntlet match was great. I do want to say I'm very happy with how they did this. But when it was announced, I was concerned that it would make all these guys look like shit. Because inevitably someone's going to look like shit if you know a gauntlet match is going to happen.
Sure.
But they gave Sheamus and Cesaro extended fights with Kofi. Yeah. They were just caught off guard by the finisher.
Yeah. And those are the guys that you would think would be the ones that get shit upon for the sake of the match and get squashed right away.
Them,
they probably had the longest time in ring.
They did.
And they were both often.
Yep.
They're just excellent.
Yeah, and a creative thing to do with Rowan to just get himself DQ'd with a crazy attack. It fits his character and also gets him out of there pretty quick so he doesn't have to take a loss.
Yeah.
Joe has been rolled up so many times, it's just it does nothing. It does not affect him in any way at this point.
Yeah.
Randy doesn't look great getting rolled up as the fifth person. That would be like my one minor complaint is Randy getting rolled up as the fifth person kind of makes him look shitty. But
if it's because he's so cocky about it, then it's like, okay, we can sell that,
And
he got caught off guard because he saw a victim and he was just playing with him and didn't respect him enough to prevent himself from getting rolled up.
Yes, he can be a very cocky, hot man. So
damn, call down.
But yeah, he is also a 13-time world champion, so he can look weak one night without taking too much damage.
Probably.
So I really loved how the Gauntlet match was booked. So I gave it an 8.5.
Excellent.
Pretty strong show.
So again, we're pretty much on the same level with
half
SmackDown.
A point off on SmackDown. We're 6 points apart on Raw.
But Raw, we do not agree on Raw. So next up, let's talk about 205 Live, since I guess canonically it was next, right?
Yes. So you saw the main event with me. I'll just run through what happened first.
And I will say this, because of now Dan's been getting into it a little bit more recently and educating me. But since we went to the live show and I was incredibly impressed by Tony Nese, who I'd never even heard of before, against Gulak, I was blown away. And I was like, I got to watch this guy's matches going forward, because the guy, he's fucking outstanding.
He's fantastic.
He has the same problem that a lot of great wrestlers have right now, where he just has the bitchiest voice ever. And
what is up with that?
He looks
so many.
He looks physically intimidating. He's got the ability. He's A+ talent in the ring, like A++ talent in the ring, but he's just got the weakest selling voice of all time. And there's other guys. Seth Rollins is kind of like that for me.
Even Cedric Alexander's like that.
Yeah, for me, Johnny Wrestling's a little bit like that. To me.
Not as bad as these guys,
not as severe. But there's a lot of guys that just have Ricochet. Ricochet is a big one.
He's an egregious example.
Where these guys are just awesome in every other way, but they just got these little pansy voices.
I don't know what it is. Freaking millennials, man.
Need to smoke more cigarettes or something.
Roughing it up a little bit.
They just
ruffle up those vocal cords.
I don't know.
So the show started with Mike Kanellis coming out with his wife Maria. So previous week, Drake Maverick had said that Mike Kanellis would have a match this week against one of the top cruiserweights in the world without identifying who that person was. And if he lost, he implied he would get fired. So that cruiserweight was revealed to be Akira Tozawa, who is another amazing guy that you have to see more of soon and will see more of soon.
Yep.
So they had a match. Tozawa got Kanellis into position for his senton from the top rope, but Maria did not let him get to the top rope by covering the turnbuckle with her body. And while that distraction was created, Mike Kanellis was able to get the upper hand, defeated Tozawa, and will remain employed on 205 Live. We'll see where they go from there. Then there was a brief promo involving, Buddy Murphy and Tony Nese have kind of been hanging out as heel buddies in recent months. Cedric came and just went to I think they actually went to Cedric when he was getting ready for his match with Nese in the main event.
Yeah.
And sort of ribbed him a little bit about, do you really think you're going to beat Tony and all this kind of stuff? And Cedric basically said, look, Tony, you've beaten me a few times. I've beaten you a few times. Let's just see what happens. And then also kind of sowed some seeds of distrust between Buddy Murphy and Tony Nese. So that was an interesting little bit of foreshadowing. And then we got to our main event, Cedric Alexander and Tony Nese in the final of the Cruiserweight tournament to determine Buddy Murphy's Cruiserweight Championship contender at WrestleMania.
Yep.
Long, amazing match.
10 out of 10.
Fantastic.
Just that match alone, 10 out of 10. It might be one of the greatest, if not the greatest, wrestling match I've ever watched.
Ooh.
It was for me.
Bold claim.
It was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
It might be top 5 all time for me.
Wow.
I was so entertained. I was blown away. Tony Nese. I'm not a fanboy of either of these guys because I literally got introduced to both of them
A week ago.
Yeah,
a week prior.
a week prior to watching this at a live show, and again, just fucking amazing. They made them so evenly matched. They're both so good. Cedric Alexander and Tony Nese just fed off each other perfectly, and just the selling was on point. The moves against each other were on
They had
point.
some great sequences. You could tell these guys know each
Amazing
other.
sequences.
Yeah, you can tell these guys know each other because they know exactly what
And
the
the
other one's going to be
the
doing.
match just kept going. Like,
Yeah.
just when you thought it was about to be over, and
you
you
just
were
don't
like,
get
oh,
long
damn.
form matches like this on
was-
the main roster ever.
And it never slowed down. There was never a dull moment in this entire match. You know, say what you will about these guys outside the ring in terms of their promos and their selling and whatever and their voices. They fucking work in the ring, and it was fucking outstanding. And they even had the balls to not give it to Cedric Alexander, who was clearly the favorite.
Yeah.
And I thought that was extremely ballsy and impressive on 205 Live's part, because that meant they were willing to stick out their neck for somebody who was really, really good in the ring next to Cedric Alexander, who is clearly the favorite to go to the
And
championship
Nese
match.
won clean, too. They
Yeah.
didn't cheat. Didn't
Yeah.
do a low blow. Didn't
Yep.
do anything like that. They won clean as a whistle.
And it was amazing. There was a moment in there where they had a fucking outstanding like double knockout of each other.
Yeah,
And, I was getting goosebumps watching this match, and it was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Nese had an awesome 450 on Cedric there.
Yep.
The crowd was on point the entire match. You know,
Yeah.
It's usually 205 Live crowds are pretty weak just
Yeah, they
because
are.
they're the remnants of
They're
who stayed
tired and
after
bored
SmackDown.
yeah.
And they were chanting, "This is awesome" and "Fight forever."
Yeah.
Basically the entire match appropriately.
Yeah, this was, I mean, that's one of the marks of a great match is when you have a bored crowd at the beginning and by the end, everyone's on their feet.
Just
and that's what
losing
happened in this
their
match.
minds.
The whole crowd was on their feet. At the beginning, everybody was sitting and not making a lot of noise. By the end, everyone was on their feet, chanting, clapping, doing all that kind of stuff.
Honestly, if that was the 205 Live Championship match, as it might have been to me in my heart, it would have been worth
Oh,
it.
don't worry. Buddy Murphy is more than prepared to tear the house down with Nese at Mania.
But yeah, it was incredible. And Buddy Murphy comes out after the match and, of course, turns on his
like
new heel buddy.
Like the heel champ douche that he is.
But that match alone, 10 out of 10. I don't care about the rest of the show. They could have literally been just dog shitting in a yard for the rest of the show, and I would still give this episode a 10 out of 10 because that match was phenomenal. If you haven't watched it and you have a way to watch it, go watch it right now. Pause this podcast, go watch that match, come back, and then bask in the glory with us.
Yeah, this makes me happy to see a young casual finally get a taste of what 205 Live does every single week.
Says the guy who wasn't watching it every week.
Hey, I've been watching it for months, sir, and I've been preaching on this program. Please watch 205 Live. It is a fantastic in-ring product every single week.
It's outstanding.
And this was definitely, I mean, this was the best match.
Although
205 Live.
I will
has
say
had that
this:
I've seen.
205 Live needs a new color scheme, and they need a new belt. That belt is hideous.
Yeah, grapefruit roll-up, I call it.
It's
yeah, but
who's the purple guy from McDonald's?
Grimace.
Grimace. It's the Grimace belt.
Yes.
The fruit roll up, as you call it, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, 205 Live is a great in-ring product. If you don't watch it now and you have access to watch it, you should be watching it regularly because
And it's
they're
not a
putting
long
on,
show, just like NXT.
1 hour a week.
It's not that long. It's very easy to plow through and just have a ball.
But it's that 1 hour and it's like 2 matches a week. And because of that, they get to do longer form matches, which they don't get to do on the main roster. You don't get to go 20, 30 minutes on the main roster, which they do every week on 205 Live. There's a slew of fantastic wrestlers on 205 Live, from Gentleman Jack Gallagher to Akira Tozawa.
Yeah.
Just great talents. Kalisto, it's a great talent. So definitely worth watching 205 Live every week. This was the best 205 Live match I've seen this year.
Yep.
For sure. I just wrote the word banger in all caps in my notes.
We need to make you a shirt that says banger.
Yes, that's my catchphrase, I think.
Banger.
That was a banger. That was a banger. And yeah, at the end, that was awesome chants. Not just this is awesome during, but people were chanting that was awesome at the end of the match to show respect to the performers.
It fucking was.
And this is a case where I know you hate post-match handshakes, but come on, they earned post-match handshakes.
That one was very, very earned.
So yeah, fantastic. Yeah. It was just Mike Kanellis was really boring to me, and the promo wasn't great because I don't think any of those guys cut a great promo except for Buddy Murphy.
Yeah.
So I gave it a 9 out of 10, and I am really looking forward to Tony Nese and Buddy Murphy at WrestleMania.
Yeah,
that might be one of the matches.
I'm stoked.
If I'm just talking in-ring product, that might be the best match of the night if they give them enough time. If they just give them like 15 minutes, it might be the best match of the night.
Yeah.
So
please give them time.
And
please, Vince, give them time.
And when we saw Buddy Murphy and Cedric Alexander go at it at Super Showdown, it was one of the best matches of the year. Probably top 10, maybe top 5 for me.
Yeah.
So seeing that Tony Nese can hold his own with Cedric Alexander in that way, and now we're going to get Murphy and Nese, which we haven't seen. And I think that is why Nese won, because we've seen Alexander and Murphy so many times. It was time to do something different.
Yeah.
So
which I can appreciate.
Good moment for Nese getting his WrestleMania moment. And I know he's going to bring his A game if Buddy Murphy gets an opportunity to get a few minutes in this match. I think that could steal the show as far as in-ring quality.
Yeah. Definitely something to look out for. And 205 Live is definitely much more on my radar now, just because of how great that performance was. My mind was blown. And I don't think I'll ever get it back. It's just somewhere on the couch over there.
Watch 205 Live, my people.
Greasy smears on my couch.
If you like great in-ring product, watch 205 Live, my people.
And then next up we had NXT, of course. I only watched one match from this because, again, I've been busy editing and
was pretty much
everything coordinated.
It was pretty much a one-match show.
Yeah.
Triple H came out, cut his promo, letting everybody know about Ciampa's neck injury, how he had to get the surgery, NXT titles vacated, and
Larfleeze is out.
Yes, unfortunately. Johnny Gargano will still have his TakeOver match at TakeOver New York. He was supposed to face Ciampa for that title, and so Triple H announced there would be a fatal 5-way on this episode of NXT to determine who will face Johnny Gargano at NXT TakeOver New York, and those 5 people: the Dream, Velveteen Dream,
VD,
the original Bro,
as
Matt
Adam Cole
Riddle,
calls him,
the one and only Ricochet, and Aleister Black, whatever.
How dare you?
We might have to provide some context on why we do that.
There's a viral video that's been going around the wrestling community of some guys that just overdub,
some really stoned guys
that
doing
overdub
a beatbox type
wrestling
cover.
soundtracks for people, and they did Aleister Black's, and it's hilarious.
It's hilariously stupid. So in between Triple H and the main event, we did have promos from each of these guys. We also had another run in between Bianca Belair and Io Shirai and Kairi Sane. So Kairi Sane and Io Shirai are best buddies, of course, and Bianca Belair has kind of been antagonizing them in recent weeks, so they've continued to build that up a little bit.
Yep.
Io Shirai and Bianca Belair had a match the previous week, and then Kairi Sane is scheduled to have a match against Bianca Belair, which is actually happening right now, but for all intents and purposes of this show, it is scheduled to happen week after next.
Yeah.
And so then we got the main event, Fatal 5-Way. Banger. Another banger.
Yep.
I'm giving it a
Now,
banger.
This match is a match I would expect to be 10 out of 10. For me, there was kind of like weird slow moments that I think it's just a challenge of trying to coordinate 5 guys who are all awesome, all together in one ring in a small venue. It's just, it was very, very good. Don't get me wrong. All of these people are amazing wrestlers, and I was excited to see them all together. But maybe it's a victim of expectation for me, but it just didn't live quite up to the hype that I thought it was. However, that being said, I thought Riddle looked awesome in this match. Yeah. Riddle clearly got the strongest push in this entire thing. And when I watched that Gulak match with Riddle, where they kind of had their technical fighting off challenge there,
off.
That was phenomenal. Yeah. And I usually don't enjoy technical wrestling, but they both did it so well together.
It was such a high level
that it was a slow burn, but it was a good burn.
Yeah.
It's that flame stayed solid the entire match and then burst at the very end into a big inferno of just awesomeness. This match kind of showed off what else Riddle can do. And he was doing everything.
Yeah.
Like, you want to talk about a guy who can do pretty much everything, but is very good at the one particular thing, which is the technical stuff, because he's got the, MMA background.
Mm-hmm.
He's what Ronda Rousey should be. Just amazing technical professional wrestler who is well-rounded and athletic and just fun to watch.
Yeah.
And
another deceptively strong dude.
If he would have won this match, as it clearly almost looked like he should have because of the spoiler cheating by Adam Cole at the end.
There was
they really
there
gave
was
him
some kayfabe controversy about the fact that Riddle actually had Dream tapping at one point in the match with the Bro Mission,
which is crazy.
So
the North American champ was tapping to Riddle. And of course the ref didn't see it because
Adam Cole, baby!
Adam Cole did a very strategic move and saved the match for himself, and then ended up winning the match.
I love that guy.
But big
funny.
Shout out to Riddle. He looked awesome in this match.
We watched this. It's funny. We watched this match separately, like a week apart, and we both individually came away with the conclusion that Matt Riddle shined in this match.
He was outstanding.
It's very rare that we would watch something separately and come to the exact same specific conclusion,
especially
like
on NXT,
because it was just that. So
we're around the spectrum on that.
Yes.
But I did enjoy big moments in it, like they had the big superplex with the
Tower of Doom spot.
Tower of Doom there. That was pretty awesome. Even though it was kind of awkward getting them all up there, as you would expect when you're trying to coordinate five guys.
Logistically, only one guy really got suplexed, so why were they all destroyed?
It was Ricochet, right?
Yeah,
just
Ricochet,
the smallest guy,
got suplexed by 5 people.
By 5 much larger
everybody
people.
Was destroyed.
Except Adam Cole, I guess. Adam Cole's not that big.
Ton of sense.
Yeah, it was a little weird, but it was cool to see it happen. It's clear that Ricochet and Aleister Black aren't the focus on NXT anymore. Clearly, they're pushing them more on the main shows, as they should. But it was nice to see everybody else shine.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think the person that looked the weakest and just wasn't as fun to watch was Velveteen Dream himself, who is the only belt holder in that group right now, right? And it was... I am a big fan of Velveteen Dream. Don't get me wrong. I love his gimmick. I love his wrestling. He's a young guy. He's got a huge future ahead of him. But this match didn't do him any favors. And I think when he paled in comparison to Matt Riddle, he paled in comparison to Aleister Black and Ricochet. He paled in comparison to Adam Cole for me. I just
paled.
Yeah, I don't think he looked good this entire. I think he looked slow. I think he looked sluggish. I think he didn't look very proficient at anything he did, because not because he's bad, but because everybody else was so good and so well refined. Everybody,
he is by far the least experienced in this group.
Yeah, and that could be it. But and then he ate the pin at the end, or didn't eat the pin, but he got tapped by Matt Riddle at the end, which certainly doesn't help his cred. Just all around, it's just he didn't come out looking very good, and I think that's another reason why the match kind of lost some steam for me, because every time he was the focus, it kind of slowed down, where everything else was just at a breakneck pace and smooth and fluid and just entertaining from start to finish.
Yeah, I don't agree on Dream. I do think that he didn't have the best spots in the match. I think most of the other guys had bigger, better, more exciting spots, but I thought Dream held his own. I thought he had a couple good sequences. I thought the bump that he took off the top turnbuckle onto the outside, taking everybody out, was good. I thought he hit a pretty good Dream Valley driver at one point in the match. But yeah, he didn't stand out to me for sure.
Yep.
But I don't think anybody really stood out to me besides Riddle, because, the workload was so distributed. Adam Cole didn't really break out a lot of his big spots, but he did hit a couple nice super kicks and that kind of stuff that he normally does in his Weasley heel type stuff, strategic Weasley heel stuff.
Of course.
So it was a pretty typical Adam Cole participation match. Every time you go at him face to face, you beat him down, and every time you have your back turned, he takes advantage. So I just love that guy.
He is mini Shawn Michaels.
I was openly rooting for him when the match was announced at the beginning of the show. I actually posted on the interwebs, I really hope Adam Cole wins, because I just love the guy.
And he was very happy when Adam Cole
I marked out.
did, of course, win.
I lost it. I totally marked out.
That includes the second time.
Yeah, the second time. I marked out a second time. Like, even though I knew it was coming. The first time I watched it, I was watching on my laptop in my room. room, and I actually jumped out of my chair and was like hopping up and down in my room. I was just like, yeah.
It was very
so
good.
excited.
It was very good.
So I was super stoked about that. I cannot wait. I've been saying all day today, I cannot wait to see Adam Cole versus Johnny Gargano in NXT TakeOver New York. I think it will
should be pretty awesome.
It will be the match of 2019. It will make Nice Alexander look like child's play. I'll tell you right now. I promise you. I promise you.
I don't know about that.
I will guarantee it.
That match was fucking spectacular.
It was spectacular, but I've seen enough of Johnny wrestling to know that when you put him in a TakeOver main event against a guy that's just good enough, it's next level.
Call me a doubter.
And I'll tell you, I've seen a lot of Nice. I've seen a
know.
lot of Alexander. I've seen a lot of Johnny wrestling. You put Johnny wrestling in the main event of a TakeOver, it's instant 5-star material. So
We shall see.
I'm telling you, this is going to be the match of 2019. I absolutely cannot wait for NXT TakeOver New York. This was the best possible result for me. The only negative is that I love both Johnny Wrestling and Adam Cole so much that my heart will be torn a little bit.
Yep.
But great match. Triple H's promo was fun. It was cool to see.
Yeah.
It was cool to see the founder. It was cool to see the NXT Papa show up in his baby and get some love from the NXT crowd. That was fun.
I like how he presented the challenge and everything. It's
Yeah.
a great idea. Great way to solve the problem.
Yeah, so like you, I don't think the match lived up to what it could have been. I mean, it wasn't a takeover match. It was just a TV match, so you can't have your expectations too high. It was.
Sure.
It would have been the best match on Raw or
And
SmackDown.
It was, a kind of a situational match where because of the injury we had to kind of scramble
it was
and
kinda
figure
sudden,
out
too.
something, and
Yeah,
they
that was
probably
definitely
didn't have
part
a
of
ton of time to prepare, but
So I gave the show an 8.5 for that reason, just because the main event was really, really good. It was really centered around the main event. They didn't advance a ton of stories because it was so focused on that main event.
Yep.
But cannot wait for Adam Cole, Johnny Wrestling.
And I only saw the promo with Triple H and then the main event match. So I'll abstain from rating the entire show, but the match itself, I give, a solid 7. Although Matt Riddle's portions were fucking phenomenal, and I give him alone like a 9. He was awesome.
Yeah, he's a great talent. So I'll just run through NXT UK real quick. So the show opened up with Johnny Saint and Sid Scanlon in the ring. Johnny Saint was there to announce that there will be a WWE United Kingdom Championship defense at NXT TakeOver New York, which is very awesome and was expected. Coming to the ring at the moment that was announced was the 680-day reigning WWE UK champion, the Bruiserweight Pete Dunne, of who I have become a huge fan in recent weeks. And
Which is pretty insane that he's had the belt that long.
Yeah, it's true. He is the heart and soul of the UK brand. They have really strapped the rocket to his back, as they say, to build this brand and build up its credibility. So, I think the time is coming when once they take the belt on him, I think he's going on the main roster. So I think that's what they're waiting for, is when's the right time to put him on the main roster, what's the right story for him, who's the right opponent for him, and is NXT UK going to be okay once he's gone, because it is still a fledgling brand. So I think they're just trying to make sure that's all established, which is why he has this really extended title reign. But he came to the ring and he kept it real simple. He picked up a microphone. He said, "Give me Walter." He dropped microphone. He left. So very simple, very effective.
Give me what I want. Give me what I want.
Give me what I want. Or whatever, So that was the end of that promo. Did not get an answer from Johnny Saint yet at this point in the show. Eddie Dennis made his return to NXT UK TV to take on Ligero. Had a pretty good match. Pretty typical high flyer versus monster heel match, but very well executed. Eddie Dennis did get the win in impressive fashion. Ligero has been building up a lot of credibility with a lot of wins in the past 8 weeks or so. So Eddie Dennis making a bit of a statement there. I'm just not a fan of Dennis, and it's really, I hate to make it superficial, but he is a very, very strong monster heel that looks lanky and ridiculous. And that alone is why I don't like him. So, just how I feel.
Can't change your feelings.
Then we had a tag team match. Stoker and Howley, known as Pretty Deadly, taking on a new tag team of Primate and Wild Boar, collectively known as The Hunt.
Which is a badass name for two animal-based characters.
Yes, this match was totally cartoonish and ridiculous, but I love that.
As it should
be. This is professional wrestling. We should have some cartoonish, silly fun, and seeing a guy named Primate bounce his fists off the mat as he runs into a corner clothesline repeatedly is definitely fun stuff.
Yeah.
So the Hunt did get a decisive victory over Pretty Deadly, as expected. So we'll see what kind of plans they have for the Hunt.
Wow.
We have a new interesting tag team on the scene. After that, Cassius Ohno made his NXT UK debut.
Did he wear pants?
He did not.
Oh, no.
The thighs were in full force.
Oh, God. His hairy Swiss cheese thighs are so disgusting.
Pretty sure he has varicose veins, too.
Oh,
so
he does. Better. He really does.
But regardless of that, he is quite...
Wear pants, please.
Regardless of his thighs, he is quite a good wrestler. And him and Ashton Smith, who was getting his second TV match of the month after a long absence. So good to see him on TV again. The fans seem to like him.
Very nice.
Very good match. I really liked it a lot. It was, Ohno has this brawler style that also has a lot of technical and a lot of hard strikes. He is known as the knockout artist for a reason. And Ashton Smith is a smaller, younger, athletic type guy who was the baby face in peril for most of this match. So this was a pretty good match. This is actually one of the Ohno matches I've liked more in recent months.
Nice.
So I was really happy with what he did. He did get the win, and then afterward kind of brought, when he had debuted, when he had made his first appearance, he actually got a good crowd reaction here. So the British fans were happy to see him.
I know people love him, but I've only seen him in 2 matches, and both were just dog shit.
Yeah.
And one was against Walter, who I now like because I saw a good match with Walter. Yes. But the first match I saw with Walter, the first proper match, was him versus Ohno, and it was painfully slow. It looked awkward.
A brawler versus brawler match is really they don't suit everybody's taste. They don't suit mine either. It's just that was really a stylistic
thing. They didn't
thing.
do what Walter's best at, which is the chest chops.
Yes, it's true.
I think there was maybe one in there in the entire match.
It was on his back, and he was wearing a shirt, so you couldn't hear.
It's just
anything,
awkward.
So. Those weren't my cup of tea either. If I was grading it as objectively as possible, I thought it was a good match, but because it's not my cup of tea to see 2 brawlers have a brawler style match where there's just no high spots and no good strikes or anything, it's just not the style I like. But Cassius Ohno, he's got a great reputation for a reason. He's been around for a long time. He's a veteran presence that NXT UK can use, I think. Mm-hmm. The core guy in NXT UK is 25 years old, so they could use some veteran energy over there to provide some guidance to these younger guys.
Gotta bring that average up a little bit.
Yeah, that's what Ohno was in NXT. He was just kind of the guy that maintained enough credibility that he could put over the young rising stars in NXT, and that's what he was for a while, and that looks like the role he's going to have in NXT UK.
Yep.
So the fans were happy to see him. He got a great reception. I almost wondered, is he not going to be a heel here because he was being received so well?
Yeah.
But he quickly put those fears to rest, I should say. After he defeated Ashton Smith, he offered him a hand and helped him up and was going to bring him to the back and then hit him with a rolling elbow, making the fans boo the guy that they were cheering when he came to the ring.
How dare you?
So Cassius Ohno will clearly have the same role he had in NXT. He will be a mid-card heel who is a veteran who will work with younger guys and, when necessary, put over younger guys that they want to push. So good role for him, good spot for him.
Hey, he's getting a paycheck.
And then in the main event of the night, big strong boy Tyler Bate was in action against James Drake. Tyler Bate's amazing, and I just don't even know how to I don't know how you describe Tyler Bate. If you've seen him before, he's a hard person to describe to anyone who hasn't seen him before because he's a very unique athlete. He's a short guy who doesn't look very big, but he's ridiculously powerful. He has insane athleticism. He's insanely technically gifted. And he's very young. I think he's 22, 21.
Wow.
He's very young. I'm
always kind of jealous of these guys that get in really young.
Yeah.
Because they have everything there for them.
Yeah.
They got the youth to work through their early mistakes and to become something phenomenal down the line.
Yeah. And
whereas the guys that get in later on, they have more trouble because they don't have as much time to become the character they want to be.
Yeah, and Tyler Bate's a guy that's already been the UK champion. He was the one that Pete Dunne took the title from him. He was the champion at 19, and then when Pete Dunne took the title from him. So he's an extraordinarily talented guy. I mean, I've just never... This is another guy... I say this about the Irish Ace, Jordan Devlin. I've never seen a match of his I didn't like, and that continues to be true for Tyler Bate. He's so technically... There's something new in every one of his matches. There's something I haven't seen him do before every time he wrestles, which is really crazy. He's strong. He's technically gifted. He can grapple like nobody's business. Just a fantastic overall athlete. I can't believe it. So he was able to get the win with a corkscrew off the top rope. Never seen Bate do that again. He just brings something new every time he wrestles. He is a true craftsman of this trade.
Awesome.
I fucking love Tyler Bate. I just can't wait until he gets involved in the main roster too. So great match. But I did give this a 7.5. Just because I don't love Eddie Dennis. The Hunt versus Stoker and Howley was fine, not great. Ono versus Ashton Smith was fun, and Tyler Bate was amazing. So it all averages out to a 7.5, a solid C+.
See, that's how I feel about pretty much every NXT UK match that I watch, an episode that I watch. I feel like it's good, not great.
Yeah,
it's
just very common.
For me, it just feels like it's missing something where NXT regularly pushes the envelope to a 9, 10, somewhere in that realm. SmackDown, 8, 9, somewhere in that realm. 205 Live, with my limited experience, the bar's pretty set pretty high, but it's up in the upper 9s regularly. UK, it just seems to fall short. It's not Raw bad by any means.
Yeah.
I've never seen an episode of NXT UK that was like a 2. It's always consistently like 6, 7, 8, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, it's like the Bengals, you know?
How dare you?
It's just average to
How
above
dare
average.
you? How dare you insult a premier franchise? Go Bengals.
It's basically the Bengals.
We have AJ Green.
And they have Tyler Bate. So basically, I feel the same way. I think because it's such a new brand, they're kind of finding their footing and trying to strike the right balance between putting on good matches and telling stories. I think with 205 Live, you're talking about fantastic in-ring product, maybe the best overall in-ring product of all the shows, but they don't really tell stories at all. Then you've got, NXT US, which is the closest in format to NXT UK, and that they try to blend both and rotate through the talent, but there's just so much more talent in NXT. So I think
very overloaded.
I think when NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool was a fantastic show, so they have it in them, and the in-ring product is solidly good. It's not 205 Live good, but it's good every week. But they need to get a little deeper into the storytelling. I think they're doing well with Dunn versus Walter so far. Well, actually, we don't know that yet because they haven't done anything. But I think they're going to do well. I feel confident that in the future they're going to do well. I'm happy with what they've done with Rhea Ripley. I thought her and Toni Storm had a good feud, so they did some good storytelling there. But they do need to work on that. So I think that they need deeper plot lines. And, if they can intersperse some good stories with the wrestling that's already solid that they do have, I think that they can get better. But they are a brand new brand, so we've got to cut them some slack for now.
And Rhea Ripley, I just watched a match with you. Fucking good.
Love Rhea Ripley.
Fucking good.
I've been banging the table for Rhea Ripley since we started this show.
And we missed her.
And I will continue.
She was in Columbus.
We missed her.
And we missed her.
Thanks to him.
The tickets cost $24.
You know, it was the first time she ever saw snow when she was here.
$24.
First time she ever
How's
saw
that
snow.
possible? Doesn't she live in Europe?
She's from Australia. And
But she lives in Europe, doesn't she?
Her full-time home's in Orlando. So she's from Australia. She came to the U.S. for the Mae Young Classic, which is how she got signed with WWE. So she was in Orlando for that. And then she got signed to the NXT UK brand, and she hasn't been there for a winter, really.
Wow.
So she had never seen snow before she came right here to Columbus. And WWE Performance Center posted a video of her first experience with snow. And it will ruin her character if you see it because she's adorable. So maybe don't watch it just for that. But if you also want to see her being adorable, that's a good place to go. To see her seeing her first snow right here in Columbus.
Hopefully she also went to a Blue Jackets game because we're about to get into the playoffs and not choke.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bruins.
I think we could use an enforcer. Maybe Rhea Ripley.
Get her on the ice.
There. Yeah. I'm pretty sure all these 190-pound hockey players may have trouble with her.
But yeah, just a reminder here. If you need to take an intermission and pause the episode, we understand. But we are going to jump right into the following week. which is now up to date for the show. Just because we had to do a lot of catch up and it just wasn't worth doing 2 separate episodes and then doing all the editing for 2 separate episodes. We apologize, but we think it'll be worth it. I think this show's been pretty fun so far. So I'm feeling pretty fresh still. We're probably going to run out of camera here pretty soon here, and we'll probably have to take a break. So there'll be an awkward cut at some point. But stay tuned. Everything will get back on pace, and we'll wrap up the show here. So we have March 25th Raw. This one I was much less high on.
And I was much more high on.
Wow. So, once again,
you just can't line up on Raw.
Very, very opposed on the Raw presence there. Again, feel free to jump in if I miss anything that wasn't on the Hulu cut. But we had the Beat the Clock Challenge versus Riot Squad announced. We had a little Ronda promo where she was...
Heavy booze, by the way.
Very heavy booze.
And heavy
not,
We Want Becky chance.
Not because she was a villain,
too.
but because she's Ronda.
She was drowned out with We Want Becky chance at one point, too.
She was doing the very awkward, and one more thing,
Yeah.
and one more thing,
Yeah.
and one more thing. And she just kept...
One more thing.
Yeah. For those who... Have you watched the Jackie Chan
Adventures?
Adventure show?
Uncle.
Yeah.
Uncle's his name, right?
Yeah,
I think. One more
thing. She was doing that the entire time, and she kept dropping the mic or throwing down the mic and then picking it back up to go, one more thing. Don't drop the mic if you're going to one more thing me.
She had to slide the cover back onto it because it broke off one of the times she dropped it. It looked ridiculous.
Yeah, and I put in my notes, what did that mic ever do to you?
And by the way, she broke kayfabe again by saying, "Oh, let's just get this started. It's probably one of your BS gimmicks anyway." So she's still harping on the wrestling
again.
is fake
It's
deal.
just a snowball of just cringeworthy kayfabe breaking. It's okay once in a while to add emotion to something. It's just too much.
It's too much,
especially leading up to WrestleMania. It's just again ruining all the momentum that you have going forward. And then, of course, the Riot Squad is just completely shit upon.
We should note when the Man was coming to the ring that she got a huge pop. Boston was really hot for the Man.
Yep.
I mean, when Ronda was cutting her promo.
There's a lot of Irish people in Boston. Big surprise.
I love the Irish. When Ronda was cutting her promo, she was getting drowned out with a We Want Becky chance. And then when Becky came out, she got a huge pop, biggest pop of the night.
Yep.
And gave a pretty good promo where she did mock the one more thing deal, which was hilarious. And then, of course, Charlotte came to the ring and cut a promo no one cares about. And the Man ended up winning. So Ronda Rousey defeated Sarah Logan in a minute 25.
Yeah. And this, before we get into this, so fucking disrespectful to the Riot Squad. If the Riot Squad had any cred left as potential good villains for future women's wrestling opponents, it's completely gone now. They just have nothing. Even Ruby Riott should not be just completely shit upon, maybe make her goons shit upon a little bit and Liv and, Sarah Logan. But don't make Ruby Riott the leader of the group just completely shit upon, without... They're literally just sacrificial lambs. We're saying, we're going to kick your ass so bad that we're actually going to make it a time challenge to see who can pin you the fastest.
Who's going to lose the fastest?
It's so shitty. It served no purpose. There was no, they got nothing for winning it either. Nothing.
So it was
nothing.
just
it's just
beat the Riot Squad
hey,
as bad
look
as
at me.
possible.
Yeah. So that kind of sucked.
That did suck.
Ronda set the bar quickly.
Yeah, minute 25, she beat Sarah Logan, who did hang in there briefly after attempting to flee at the beginning. Yeah. Then it was Charlotte and Ruby Riott. Ruby hung in there until...
So I guess technically Ruby didn't lose because the timer went out first.
She got bridged into the figure eight, so she was probably about to tap.
It still didn't look good.
Yeah, it still didn't look good. And then the Man went against Liv Morgan, which was hard for me to watch because I love them both. And they should know there's plenty of me to go around.
First Randy, now this. Please control your erection, sir.
Hey, I'm in sweatpants. But yeah, so the Man was able to get a roll-up pinning combination on Liv.
Becky Lynch gets the best time, and the Man continues to ride the wave of fan support. And basically, Raw did exactly what you would expect it to do.
The Man stands tall. Works for me.
Totally delegitimizes the Riot Squad, which kind of sucks.
At least they made it on TV this week. got that going
we've been
for 'em.
complaining about how there's not enough villains in the women's division beyond Charlotte Flair and definitely beyond Nia Jax, and this doesn't help things.
No.
Yeah. Next up, we had Bobby Lashley versus Finn Balor. This time in a handicap match with Jinder Mahal helping out Bobby Lashley. Now, I like Bobby Lashley a lot more than you do.
Yes.
Mostly because of his outrageous bubble muscles and because I like it when he destroys Leo Rush in anger. However,
That one time.
Jinder Mahal fucking sucks. Like, he's got everything else going for him, but he
Yeah.
fucking sucks
I already
in the ring.
find Lashley insanely boring. This was like the worst possible person they could put him with.
Yeah. And it's
just doubled down on the ultra boringness.
it's just annoying. It's the worst team up you could possibly imagine, and I don't even understand why they're teaming up. There's no reason for Jinder Mahal to team up with Bobby Lashley, other than he hasn't been doing much lately.
Needs a TV paycheck, I guess.
But Balor showed up and did his thing, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, he did everything he could to make it fun.
He tried
to carry it.
He
to
salvaged the
entertainment.
match a little bit, but overall it was just shitty. And again, Balor wins by not pinning Bobby Lashley, which is again annoying the fuck out of me. Because
Yeah.
again, I guess they're trying to protect Bobby Lashley.
Right. Yeah,
But
because they want him. at
what's
Mania.
there to protect? He hasn't built anything yet.
Yeah, they just want him to. They got a match at Mania, so they've got to protect it.
I guess. I just maybe because I'm a fanboy for Balor, but I don't.
I would like to see Lashley vanquished and then
I
released.
don't mind it. I don't mind seeing them go back and forth with the titles and the pins and the wins and whatnot. But I don't like this thing where we're dancing around it the entire time, where Finn hasn't pinned him once.
Yeah.
And this entire skirmish, including when he got the championship belt.
Yeah, well,
It
they're trying to build up those Lashley blue balls.
It just,
you know?
well, nothing's coming. Sorry to ruin the parade. That's a dry hose right there.
Yeah, it's more like you're stepping on the balls.
Yeah,
Just stop
yeah.
stepping on them.
Yeah, it's like the humane way to like neuter a goat.
Yeah.
where they put the rubber bands on there until it
Yes.
eventually dies and falls off. That's what we're getting. That's not blue
Yes.
balls.
Yeah.
That's dead, cold, just rotting ball sack.
That's Raw's whole mid card for me every week.
But yeah, the Singh brothers were entertaining.
As always,
And
love the Singh brothers.
Again, Finn pretty much took out all of them plus Jinder Mahal, which was necessary.
Yep.
And
The 3 count with the coup de grace on the modern day Maharaja.
yeah. And I did enjoy Lashley raging out at the end, but now it's so formulaic because he does it literally every time they have any kind of match. He just has to rage out against somebody, which is appropriate, but it's been done literally every week.
I did enjoy that Jinder Mahal got to have an extended entrance to the ring so I could listen to his banger theme song for a good solid 2 full minutes. So that was
especially
a highlight.
with the Singh brothers on each side,
Yeah, that was a highlight for me.
All right. Yeah, all right. I don't give it that much credit, but, to each their own. Next up, we had another McIntyre promo.
Wait, I must interject.
Oh,
We had
Hulu
more
cut
things
strikes
cut.
again. What do we have, brother?
Okay, so first of all, Elias was selling his concert in New York City again. Pretty typical stuff from Elias. Charming, self-involved, thinks more of himself than others do. Just typical awesome Elias stuff.
As
and
you would
then
expect.
we had a match between Blackachet and the Revival.
Fuck!
Yeah.
They cut Blackachet versus the Revival.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
God damn it.
And
I hated this Raw.
Yeah.
I hated this Raw.
And I actually...
that might have redeemed it for
Yeah,
me.
I actually wrote down it was the thing I liked most about this Raw for my score, which might be why my score was so much higher than yours.
Garbage. I think Hulu is the decisive factor in all of this.
They have no respect for the Revival is the problem.
It's
all right?
true. It's very true.
They are the Raw Tag Team Champions.
I could have skipped Jinder Mahal versus Finn Balor as much as I love Finn.
Yeah, that's outrageous. But there was a match between Blackachet and the Revival. It started out a little sloppy, but it ended up getting really good as it went on. It wasn't a super long match, but there were a couple of good sequences in there. And just, can I just say, I say this about a small handful of performers. I say it about the Irish Ace, Jordan Devlin. I say it about Tyler Bate. The Revival can't wrestle for more than 5 minutes without me being entertained. That's just 100%. 100% entertainment rate. I love the Revival. They're so good.
I like them. I think they're very good.
Their tandem offense is phenomenal.
Honestly,
their character work is phenomenal.
I liked when they were up against Glorious every week because
those are
honestly,
a great combo.
I think they work against each other very well.
Yes,
and
they've got a lot of experience working with them.
Personally, I like Glorious a little bit better. I know you don't, but I do.
This is why the Revival gets cut from Hulu, because of disrespectful, snot-nosed, filthy casuals like this, all right? This is the problem. Anyway, good match. Blackachet, this was a non-title match. Blackachet got the win. Aleister Black hit a double black mass on Dawson and Wilder, which was pretty cool. You didn't get to see it.
Damn it.
And then
Hulu.
Ricochet followed that up with a 630 for the pin. So
Hulu.
Not a very long match, but very entertaining.
Killing me.
Love the Revival. So yeah. Proceed.
Damn it.
Having missed that.
They cut my favorite NXT
And it was
guys.
a double black mass, too. He hit it on both of them at once. It was awesome.
Damn it, man. Hulu.
Get
Come
your
on.
shit together.
Come on. It's a slog otherwise. Why are you doing this to me? All right. Fine.
Very uncool.
Hulu's fine. It's fine. But back to the McIntyre promo. Some of my notes for it. Again, kayfabe issues. Just
Very.
too much.
It's dead.
Too much.
I just wrote down, stop killing McKayfabe.
It's
dead.
It's ruining the storylines. It's really cringeworthy when it's not executed for a good reason.
More cancer references, by the way. Thank you, Vince.
Calling him Joe. It's confusing because there's a Samoa Joe.
Yes. As opposed to this, which is a Samoan named Joe.
It's very awkward.
A different Samoan Joe.
Yeah.
That's not Samoa Joe.
Yep. And then Roman confronts him, and then McIntyre promptly beats the shit out of him.
He goes low. Excuse me.
He does.
He neuters the big dog.
Which is
there will be no more little dogs.
Damn. And then Dean Ambrose, in his anger, challenges McIntyre to a last man standing match. Again, just so McIntyre can continue to wreak havoc on the Shield.
Mm-hmm. And Dean Ambrose continues his putting everyone over before I leave tour. So thank you, Dean, for your service.
Dean, what a pro. Appreciate you. I like having the crazy Dean back.
Yes.
As opposed to the just self-righteous Dean,
yes.
which was what we got when he has championship belt.
I like this aloof, not giving a shit Dean, except giving a shit when you mess with his friends, which is, we all know people like that.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Appreciate it.
It's easy to root for somebody when they're fighting for something.
Yes.
Other than just nothing.
Yes.
It's like, I'm a babyface
fighting
because
for his brothers.
I'm a babyface.
Yes.
It's much more endearing when you're fighting for someone else.
Because the fans cheer for me.
Take note, writers. Next up, we had Sasha versus Natalya.
It's boss time!
And it was fine.
I thought it was good. I liked it a lot.
That was pretty fine.
I liked it a lot.
It's fine.
For the length of the match, I thought they got the most out of those minutes.
Yeah.
The match, I think, went like 6 or 7 minutes, and I felt like they really milked those 6 and 7 minutes
for what they had. It was fine.
And I really liked this spot where Sasha was thrown up onto the apron when Natalya was on the outside. She spun through right into a Rana into the barricade. That was a sweet spot. So that's the kind of stuff Sasha always pulls out in her singles matches that I really enjoy. I like this match.
It was pretty good. For what it was. And then, of course, again, Nia Jax and Tamina interrupt everything.
Always.
Because that's the script every fucking week.
Every week.
Just like the Bobby Lashley raging out on whoever makes him lose every week.
But this time, the Glamazon showed up and made it very fun.
That was my next note there. Beth Phoenix, the Glamazon, came out and showed her fucking stuff, man.
Yeah.
She still got it.
She's a beast.
She can fucking lift some
She
people.
did the fireman's carry on Nia Jax.
Yeah.
It looked like she could have carried her for a while.
Yeah, she was pulling some big, heavy lifting moves.
Yeah.
And I was very impressed.
She was showing she still got
It's
it.
like, damn, son. Damn. She probably can't do it 200 matches a year, but it was impressive.
Boy, Edge, treat her right, because I feel like she could break you.
Probably. It's probably the case. Next up, we had the next edition of the Kurt Angle Goodbye Tour. We had Kurt Angle come out, talk about some stuff. And Baron Corbin, of course, comes out and is savage. As usual.
More of his wonderful douche healing.
Yep.
Just love it.
Yep. It's quintessential douchebag Baron Corbin.
He's a very polarizing figure in the internet wrestling community, but I just want to be clear that I love the fact that he generates real old school heel heat because no one does it anymore. Even the best heels in the company. Samoa Joe is probably the best heel in the company, but they don't boo him because he's so good at it.
They cheer him.
They chant his name as he comes to the ring. He has no heat, even though he's a fantastic heel. Corbin isn't as good a heel as Joe, but he generates real heat, and that counts for something.
And kind of a spoiler for what we talk about next week on the next episode, but again, Baron Corbin has one of the coolest fucking moves ever.
He has
the deep six.
He has an amazing,
fucking awesome.
His move set. He's got the deep six, the end of days, and he's got
End
the
of Days
choke
is really
slam
cool.
backbreaker too, which I love. Also, he's got an awesome move.
He's got awesome moves.
Yeah, his move set is fantastic. I really wish that they would, give him a character that would.
If he was a little more relevant,
There's something about a guy in business casual hitting those moves that kind of takes away from them.
Just doesn't work.
Yeah. Great moveset.
He's
though.
not
One of my favorites.
He's not the manager of Raw anymore. He doesn't have to wear the suit.
He's not the constable.
Give him something else. Yeah. But yeah, badass moves. Next up, we had another moment of bliss. We had some more of this SNL skit stuff. Where we had Braun Strowman going, "Rah! Don't like dorks, don't like funny dorks from SNL," and then some really, really poorly delivered lines from the SNL guys that were clearly reading off cue cards. Like you can always see it on SNL.
Clearly written by WWE cue cards. Too.
Yeah, not good cue cards.
Yeah,
and like this is. Like it's always been noticeable on SNL for anybody that's been a fan of SNL in the past, but the current guys that do it are just so bad about not hiding the fact that they're reading the cards. And I think it's part of the cast problem that they kind of want to surprise them and try to get them to laugh, on accident or something. But the problem is you can literally see their eyes darting back and forth when the camera's too close to them. And this entire thing was right up against their face. So you were just seeing their eyes dart back and forth as they're trying to keep up with the cue cards. And it's real obvious that it wasn't delivered well. It was just really cringeworthy all around. I know you're sick of Braun, but I like when Braun's being the big, dumb, strong guy because that's what he is. I don't like when
he's talking. Though.
I don't like when he's going up in title matches against, Brock Lesnar. I would much rather have him be the big, dumb, strong guy who murders everyone. But this whole skit thing is just it's so bad. It's bad.
It's just Vince's. Again, I have to blame Vince McMahon because his obsession with any celebrities that are non-wrestling celebrities just makes him put way too much time and investment into these kinds of stupid storylines.
And let's face it, SNL is kind of dead.
Yeah,
SNL hasn't been seriously relevant in probably 10 years plus. I mean, who's the last big name to come out of SNL? It's probably 10 years ago ish.
Yeah.
There's
don't even know.
Don't know. There's Andy Samberg, I guess, kind of.
Samberg did all
but
right.
his movies all kind of sucked, and that's why he's on a TV
did have
show.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine though.
Yeah, he's on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and that's about it.
Yeah, that's the best thing he's done.
Lonely Island, I guess.
Yeah, Lonely Island too.
But again, that's like a decade old now, so
this whole thing was so cringeworthy and unwatchable. I just wrote in all caps, underlined with an exclamation point, the word "terrible."
Yeah,
I could not hardly sit through this.
This
was as close as I've come to just shutting off Raw for a few minutes that I've had in a long time.
But Alexa's great.
Alexa's great.
And she was actually pretty funny at the end there, where she was talking to Braun and pretending like she couldn't do something.
Yes.
And she's like, I can totally do it because she's a villain and she doesn't give a shit.
Alexa is such a phenomenal speaker. She's so good with a microphone that, these Moment of Bliss segments have been so poorly written, but she's carried them to respectability with her. And I feel like her hosting WrestleMania is her reward for this Moment of Bliss purgatory she's been in. So I'm very glad that they gave that to her because she deserves it with how good a speaker she is.
I think she's going to be great at WrestleMania.
Yeah,
I honestly do.
I was so stoked.
I'm so glad it's not some random celebrity or Kim Kardashian or anything.
She's in the top 3 best speakers in the company for me. She's fantastic. But the big substantive thing that came out of this segment was that Jey and Jost will be in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at WrestleMania because reasons.
Stupid. Okay, fine, whatever. We don't need this. Thank you. We don't need the SNL guys on wrestling at all.
At all.
If you want to have him on a TV program 1 week just for the fuck of it, fine. But not for WrestleMania.
No.
Not for 3 weeks leading up to WrestleMania.
No, I can't deal with this. I can't wait for it to be over.
I feel like this is probably where I missed something, but next I got Seth Rollins.
Oh no! So Corbin, so Corbin clearly set up a special intro for himself with the ring announcer because he was introduced as former Golden Gloves champion, former U.S. champion, former Money in the Bank winner, former acting general manager, Baron Corbin,
which he continues into the next week. Spoiler alert!
Fantastic! I laughed so hard with that
He's
intro.
so good at being a weasel.
He's such a dick. So he had a rematch with Apollo Crews because Apollo Crews rolled him up last week, as we covered earlier in this Super Show.
Yep.
This time, Corbin did get the win back with a clean win with the end of days.
Poor Apollo.
Poor Apollo, but it was definitely much needed because you can't just have Corbin jobbing to Apollo Crews right before WrestleMania. So got his win back in decisive fashion.
Nice. And I'm always happy when Apollo Crews gets some time, even if Hulu cuts it.
Been on TV a couple weeks in a row now, so that's good.
Nice.
Very talented guy.
Yeah.
Should use him.
Next up, I had Seth Rollins coming out. And then Paul Heyman, of course, being the maestro he is, talking about how we're sending thoughts and prayers.
I know your generation. You want thoughts and you want prayers. Fantastic.
I don't know if Paul Heyman writes his own stuff, but if he does,
he has a heavy hand in it. Yeah,
he's fucking amazing.
Yeah, he's actually involved in writing a lot of the scripts for everybody. I mean, he's involved in the creative. So,
and
I'm sure he wrote the bulk of that.
Yeah, it's just excellent. And then I love...
He just gets wrestling. He gets it so deeply.
He embodies what we need more of. The kind of comedic side that just isn't played into enough.
I want half a dozen more of him. I want one for Asuka. I want one of him for Andrade. Although he's got Zelina Vega at least. But there's some people I just really want to put a Paul Heyman with.
Yeah,
that would
absolutely.
Just so enhance them.
It's so good. And then they ended the whole... promo skit there where Seth Rollins comes up and
threatens
Paul Heyman, and he has the instant cowardice,
collapses to the floor and starts saying, I'm sorry, it was all Brock's idea. I think you're gonna win at WrestleMania. I hope you win.
Oh, he's so good.
He looked genuinely so terrified, and he sounded like a scared man.
He
sounded like a guy that was fearing for his life in that moment. It was so perfect.
And then to top it off, we had Kurt Angle coming out to the "You Suck" chants, but everybody's pointing at Paul Heyman. It's so good.
It's a little bit of trolling from old Kurt.
It was so perfect.
Oh, it was
so
great.
Perfect.
It was great. That was one of the best parts of the night.
Yeah. But then that led into the Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe match again for the Kurt Angle farewell tour.
Yeah, and your version got cut down.
It did get cut down.
The best parts.
Which sucked.
Yeah.
And I didn't even realize it got cut down, but it did.
Joe cut a promo on his way to the ring. It was a fantastic promo. Those who are familiar with their TNA work will know that they have TNA now Impact work know that they have a history from TNA. They had a long rivalry that was very storied. And so they are super tight, and this was obviously another one of Kurt's handpicked opponents that he wanted to go with one last time.
Yeah.
As Joe was coming to the ring and cutting this promo, his typical Joe stuff. He's going to put you to sleep. He's going to end your career, all that kind of stuff. You're not going to make it to WrestleMania. Typical Joe stuff. But there was a lot more emotion in Joe's voice that I was picking up on, which I think was just the emotion of the moment that he was channeling into his character's promo.
Yeah.
So really good stuff from Joe. And the match itself
Joe's so good on the mic.
He is.
I'm pissed I missed it.
And he showed how good he is in the ring too, because the match got cut down a lot on Hulu too.
Yeah.
But
even the stuff I saw was pretty solid.
Joe
mostly on the back
match.
Of Joe. Yeah,
Joe carried this match to respectability. I was really impressed with Joe. It's not a skill that I've seen him demonstrate a lot because I haven't really seen him wrestle people that are in a position where they're not able to carry their weight.
Yeah.
So I never knew that Joe was. There are some wrestlers who are very good at pulling out a good performance out of anybody, and then there are some who are not very good at that.
Mm-hmm.
Like Charlotte Flair comes to mind. One of the best female wrestlers on planet Earth. If you put her with a bad opponent, it's going to be a bad match.
Yeah.
She just does not pull the good performances out of people.
It's true.
So I expected not very much here, but Joe was selling so hard and throwing himself into those German
He made Kurt
suplexes.
Angle look really good, which is awesome. Something he needed because up to this point it's been really rough, especially that Gable match where he just couldn't bend over to do the wrestling.
And
sweeps.
He just kept control of the offense, so he was doing the bulk of the offense. So he was, all Angle had to do was stay in the corner for a little bit. All Angle had to do was, Ambrose, hit the mat and stay on the mat and sell for a little bit. So he was making sure Angle didn't have to do very much while still a lot was happening.
Yeah.
So this ended up being a pretty good match and definitely the best match that Kurt Angle has had in a long time.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt about it. But in the end, of course, Kurt Angle gets the win in the end.
On Samoa Joe up.
Yeah.
That's
as always. As always.
You got Joe.
He's a roly-poly.
That's 4 in a row. 4 times in a row that he's wrestled.
He can do so much high flying. He can jump over ropes, but he can't deal with getting rolled up.
He's got a very glaring weakness. I would hope that Rey Mysterio is studying some tape because it really stands out on tape.
Roly-poly. Although I don't know if Rey Mysterio has the size to roll him up.
Yeah. Although he got one too when we were there. He rolled Joe too. Everybody gets one. Everybody gets one. See if he can make it 2 for 2.
And then he murders you. But
yes,
that's beside the
point. He does put you
point.
to sleep afterwards.
Is it worth it?
At least you get the dub.
Is it worth it to die?
You get the dub.
Yeah.
Right? What matters is the dub.
Maybe, I guess. And then the main event, Dean Ambrose versus McIntyre, part 2.
Don't forget the Triple H promo.
Oh, was there a Triple H promo?
Oh, come on.
It got cut for me, I think.
That one we saw. Remember he referenced the Spice Girls. He pulled out the letter from Batista. I'll tell you what you want, what you really, really want.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, hit it.
So Triple H promo came out to address Batista again and respond to his various demands. He also...
I think it's funny that he sent a lawyer's letter
for
his demands.
Well, I don't know if...
He already gave you what you want.
I don't know if Triple H was high, but he was making a lot of like really silly jokes and... They were funny, but I've just never seen Triple H like that. Like he was being silly.
It's a little weird.
Like he kept making jokes. Like he just kept going back to them.
It's basically like when DC tried to copy Marvel and be silly and goofy after they established them as dark and gritty, and it didn't work.
It was odd. I mean, they were funny jokes. It's just they did not fit this rivalry. This rivalry was supposed to be a blood feud. This is supposed to be a blood feud. You a couple weeks ago, you're talking about how you were with Richard Fleur when he buried his dead child, and Batista assaulted Richard Fleur, and now you're making Spice Girls joke. Yeah. It's just it doesn't fit the narrative of this rivalry.
I think I blocked it out.
I thought it was a very odd creative decision to make him so silly like this.
It was weird. It was bad timing, bad placement.
Yeah, and typical with Triple H, rambling, just way too many words, just saying the same thing 97 times. That's just a Triple H promo. That's all his promos.
I like hearing him talk.
I mean, his delivery is good. It's just that every Triple H promo, he repeats the same thing 97 times.
That's true.
Every single time.
It's what old men do.
So,
especially when you've had a lot of head injuries, you just kind of repeat yourself.
Well,
you can't remember what you said 10 seconds ago.
Just keep booking NXT like a god, and I forgive you. So ultimately, the result of this match, reading Dave Batista's letter from his lawyer, was that he will adhere to Batista's demand that if Batista is victorious at WrestleMania, that will be the end of Triple H's in-ring career. So it'll be a career on the line, no holds bar match, and of course, we know Batista's retiring regardless. So.
Does this mean you're rooting for Batista?
I was always rooting for Batista, but now I'm doubly rooting for Batista.
Wow.
Look, I love Triple H. I love Triple H, but he's too fucking old. He needs to be done. His matches are almost as unwatchable as The Undertaker at this point. Not nearly as gassed as The Undertaker. He's got a lot more in the tank than Taker does. But every old man Triple H match that I've watched has just been slow, plodding, painful, taking up so much pay-per-view time. It's going to happen at WrestleMania again. I can feel it. It's going to go over 20 minutes.
Over-under predictions. They're
coming. And the last time that he wrestled was at Crown Jewel in the tag team match, DX versus Brothers of Destruction. He tore his pec 30 seconds into the match. I mean, he's too old. He can't do this. So he just needs to stop, or else we're going to have to keep watching 30-minute old man matches.
He's going to turn himself into Kurt Angle.
I love the guy. I don't mean to disrespect him, but he's got to stop wrestling. And I will be rooting for Batista, even though I think there's a 0.01%.
I do love him as an executive, though.
Yeah.
And as an executive character.
Yes. Yeah. Me too.
Perfect role for him.
Nobody loves NXT more than me, and that is his baby.
Cerebral assassin at work.
Just stop wrestling, though. Stay in the suit.
And then to Baron Corbin, we say the opposite. Get out of the suit, please. Please get out of the suit. And finally, as we mentioned earlier, the Dean Ambrose versus McIntyre, part 2. And once again, we get plenty of eye gouging from McIntyre. However, this match was much less entertaining for me than the last time they fought each other, just because McIntyre just can't stop fucking crouching. He crouched constantly during this match. And again, I love Dean Ambrose, don't get me wrong, but if he's not going up against a fast-paced guy like Samoa Joe or something, it's just he doesn't pull out the best anything for me. He just, as a wrestler, he falls kind of flat. When he's with Shield, it's fucking awesome because they can do all their awesome, tag team moves and stable moves together, and it works really well when he's selling his character as the kind of crazy guy of the group. Great for promos. Awesome on the mic, but he hasn't been doing it for me as a wrestler in quite a while. And honestly, I found it kind of unbearable when he had the belt because not only was his character neutered, but his wrestling wasn't all that great for all the title defenses.
That was a really bad title reign. Yeah. That was really bad.
It was pretty rough, and it's probably a big reason why he isn't staying with the company, I'd imagine. But it was pretty weak for me.
Yeah, we disagree in this main event, which we did the last time that Drew and Dean had a match.
I wasn't high on the last time either.
The Falls Count Anywhere match.
Yeah.
I was also much higher on that one. I was higher on this one too. My major complaint was just that 10 minutes is not long enough for a last man standing match. Yep. A last man standing match cannot be done in 8 to 10 minutes at a high level.
Yep.
But I thought grading on a curve, understanding that they are doing what's supposed to be one of the longest form matches that there are in a standard 8 to 10 minute amount of time. I think they really pulled out a pretty good match considering those circumstances, which were just impossible conditions to try to make something happen.
Yep.
So judging within those parameters, I thought it was pretty good. I liked it a lot. I thought the throwing Dean through the table at the end was a good way to finish it, and hitting him with the Claymore.
It had a nice ending, just like the last one. The ending was pretty awesome, but up to that point, I was just kind of bored out of my mind.
Yeah. Well, I like that. I like that main event. That kind of helped save the show a little bit for me because between Blackachet and Revival having the match, and then the main event, everything in between Revival's match and the main event was just mostly not very good to me, with the exception of Paul Heyman. And Sasha and Natalya. So just looking at my notes, I wrote down that I liked Blackachet and Revival. I liked the Rollins and Heyman promo, mostly because of Heyman, not so much because of Rollins.
Yep.
I loved Sasha and Natalya. It was a pretty good match. Again, with the amount of time they were given, I think they did a lot with it. I think that's an example of Sasha's ability to kind of just make chicken soup out of chicken shit. Loved Elias as always. But I wrote down, Samoa Joe did an amazing job both with his mic work going against Kurt Angle and carrying that match solely on his shoulders to a good match. So all of those things I liked, but everything else I didn't like. But that's a lot more things than I usually like about Raw. So I gave it a 7 out of 10 for the week, which is a solid C-.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't give it a passing grade. I liked aspects of the show. I liked Finn Balor going all out to beat up the Singh brothers and Jinder Mahal, even though the match itself was pretty boring. I hated how much they've been disrespecting the Riot Squad in their efforts to push this, Becky, Charlotte, Ronda thing for literally no reason. There's just no reason for it other than to have them do something today. And to me, that's not a good enough excuse to have them out there, especially when we're this close to WrestleMania. I did like the Beth Phoenix showing off after the Sasha and Natalya match. I disagree with you a little bit on that match because I didn't enjoy it quite as much as you did, but I did enjoy Beth Phoenix getting to show off a little bit there. I thought the Kurt Angle stuff was actually pretty good this time around. Not only was this match pretty entertaining, largely because of Joe, but so were the promos with Baron Corbin and Kurt Angle and Joe and all that stuff. Paul Heyman's masterclass, of course. So it had some redeeming features for me, but overall, I had to give it a 5 out of 10. It was right in the middle of the scale for me. I was so meh on most of the show that I couldn't give it anything better than a 5. And that's what I felt about it. And again, we're a little bit opposed, although 2 points isn't so far off.
It's not as drastic as the other one.
Yeah, the other one is like a 2 and a 7 or something like that. That's a pretty big difference there. Next up, we have SmackDown for the 26th of March there. We have the opening with New Day coming out. I did notice there was a crowd member right front and center with a Nickelback shirt. So props to you for being bold, for being strong-willed, for not caving to the popular culture. You, sir, are not fickle.
Live your truth.
You, sir, are not impotent.
Live your truth.
And I respect that. We had basically New Day come out talking about, obviously, how they deserve to have Kofi in the main match and all this and that, and how Vince keeps screwing them over, and they've earned it several times over, and they've pinned Daniel Bryan and this and that.
And they threatened to quit.
They did.
They say they're walking.
It sounded like they were about to walk. And then Vince and Daniel Bryan both make appearances.
Oh, you got to quit. You got to quit. Huh? You got to quit.
B+ player. B+. And basically Vince comes out trying to egg them on and see if they actually would, which he knew they wouldn't. And then Daniel Bryan is in the background kind of going, yeah,
Peanut Gallery.
Yeah.
Get a boss.
Yeah.
Get a boss.
And Vince is like, shut up.
Yes. There was a very good Vince. Shut up.
Which is excellent. It's excellent. Although I love the Planet's Champ, and how dare you, you impotent son of a bitch. But yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yes.
I thought it was a great intro to the show. It set the tone pretty well. And then he announced that Kofi's chances were done. Yeah,
no more chances for you. You could just go to the back and get a soda or something.
But Big E and Xavier Woods would have to defend his honor in a tag team gauntlet match.
Another gauntlet match.
Because, let's face it, we needed them to have something to do for
I love
a week,
these gauntlet matches, but
fine.
this is too many gauntlet matches.
But to be fair, they're pretty good.
Many gauntlet
They're
very
pretty good.
It's just
They've
so
been pretty
many
good.
of them.
It's very true. Dan has an excellent point, but they're
It's-
very good.
It's like 3 gallons of chocolate ice cream. At some point, you start throwing up. All right?
So yeah, that basically set the tone for the rest of the night, and that would be the main event later in the night.
Of course, I would struggle to pay attention because of the outrage that I was feeling, but we'll get to that in a moment.
Yeah, this was bullshit. Next up, I'm just declaring this right now. I was very angry. Of course, I was late to the party, but apparently this made everybody pissed off, and
I've got a page
everybody
just about that.
Everybody was raging, and I'm sure you got a rant. I have a rant. I'm going right off the base of my tongue here, but yeah. So we get an Asuka versus Charlotte Flair match for the SmackDown Women's title.
For the title. Out of nowhere. Unannounced.
Precursor
Why?
to this, Asuka has been perennially just disrespected this entire time. They clearly had no idea what to do with her once she got the title.
And I would argue for almost a year now, by the way. But
and she has been off camera for most of this time.
Yeah.
Doing basically, blackout blackout fights, matches, and like house shows, but not actually doing.
She's been champ for 2 months. She's had 1 title defense.
Yeah, the most attention she got was when she was wrestling. It was Charlotte Flair at a house show, right?
Yeah.
And then Becky Lynch interrupted to try, beat her up or something. And Asuka was just in the background.
She was just a filler
She
for
was
the
there.
Charlotte-Becky feud.
Now, if you're not familiar, Asuka is probably the best in-ring wrestler, in my opinion, on the SmackDown roster right now.
We agree on something. I think she's the best female wrestler in the world, personally. But
she's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Fucking awesome.
Charlotte's right there, but Asuka is just
But Asuka makes people better where Charlotte doesn't. I totally agree with you on that point.
Yes.
Charlotte cannot make people better.
Yeah.
Asuka makes everybody else look good.
I enjoyed Mandy Rose for the first time ever in Fastlane.
She made Mandy Rose look good. Asuka is an amazing wrestler, and even though she's limited by her language and her proficiency in English, she sells so hard when she does get the mic that she's still really entertaining.
Yeah, her facial expressions and her emotional expression, it comes
She sells
through no matter what.
110%, and it works.
She tells more of a story with a facial expression than a lot of people do with the whole promo.
It's true. And basically, they made Asuka an excuse to give Charlotte Flair some credit because she was literally shoehorned into this whole storyline with Becky Lynch and Ronda. And again, this is just an example of why I'm starting to hate Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair, not because of their characters or because of their wrestling. I hate them because they are devouring, their storyline is literally devouring the shows and just making everybody else on the rosters just look bad. and it's just taking up too much time. It's wasting everybody's patience. It's clear that Becky had a huge, strong foundation, and there's a good reason for that. But she has endured this long under all of this bullshit that's been surrounding the whole storyline. But this was the ultimate insult to me. Not only for the women's division, not only for Asuka, not only for SmackDown in general, to have Charlotte Flair just show up and take your belt. And now both...
They were supposed to have an actual number one contenders match that they scrapped to just give Charlotte a title shot.
And now both belts are going to be carried by somebody after WrestleMania, which means one show's not going to have their fucking belt.
Well, we don't know that yet.
Oh, please.
We don't know
that's
what's going to happen.
It's fucking stupid. It's fucking stupid. And it sucks because it was an incredible match.
Fantastic.
They're two top talents for a reason.
Yeah.
The match itself was incredible. It's kind of how I felt with the Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston ruining the KO match, because the KO Daniel Bryan match was fucking awesome. It was awesome. And it got kind of ruined, not a lot, but a little bit, by the focus on Kofi. And people were chanting Kofi the whole time and ignoring the actual match until finally they're like, oh shit, this is really good. We should pay attention. That's what this felt like. Yeah. And
we have such incredible chemistry. I mean, this is only the second time they've met. They were at WrestleMania last year.
And they were
that
awesome.
was a banger at WrestleMania,
awesome match.
It's like they seamlessly just transition. They work so well together. They just feed off each other perfectly.
Awesome match.
Incredible.
Great moves all around. Really the best example of what the women's wrestling division can be and should be more often than not. Big problems with the match, though. 2 commercial breaks. Not one. 2 commercial breaks during Asuka's match with Charlotte Flair. And they end the match by giving the belt to fucking Charlotte Flair so that she can have a title and have some kind of legitimacy going into WrestleMania, which is just a fucking waste. A waste of Asuka's talent. It's a waste of Charlotte's talent. It's a waste of your writing staff. It's just a complete waste to have Charlotte Flair shoehorned into this thing. And it's so cringeworthy. Fuck you, Vince, assuming you are the one responsible for this. Why do you hate the Japanese? It's really sickening. It's pissing.
Really insane.
Shinsuke's been disrespected for, 3 months now? He's getting jobbers entrances. He's on probably the most awkward tag team of all time with Rusev Day. And now Asuka, who is the fucking title holder, just gets shit upon for 2 months straight and then loses the title so that Charlotte Flair can have an excuse to have a legitimate role in this fucking stupid feud that has gone way too long and just doesn't hold water anymore. My rant's over. Proceed.
Okay, I mean, I'm going to echo a lot of the things you just said. I have a couple of points to make about this, and the first one is the major one that you touched on already, which is you've now sacrificed the entire SmackDown Women's Division and the entire Raw Women's Division to one match at WrestleMania. And I understand it's the first ever women's main event. I understand it's the biggest women's wrestling match in history. I understand that. But it's not so big that you should have sacrificed your entire women's roster across the entire main roster to building up the hype for this match. And that's all this was. This was just, this match is pretty big. It's already the main event. It's already the 3 biggest stars we have. It's already for the Raw Women's title.
What more do you fucking have to do?
Maybe if we just throw another title in there, it'll be even bigger, though. And that is the logic that is going on here. Well, you know what else would make it bigger? Make it a hair versus hair versus hair match. Make it a ladder match. Make it a tables match. Make it a TLC match. Put the titles on a pole and make them climb the pole. And whoever climbs the pole gets the titles. You can do all kinds of retarded things to make this a bigger match, and this is one of them. And well done. Secondly, you're taking the title off of Asuka 12 days before WrestleMania. And by the way, there's a 0% chance this was the plan until the day that this was taped, because they were advertising, WWE was advertising on its Twitter and on its other social media pages, a fatal 4-way number 1 contenders match. The winner would face Asuka at WrestleMania. They scrubbed all of their social media profiles of these announcements surrounding this match. They had promos already cut.
It was clearly a last-minute decision.
It was clearly the day of, maybe the last minute, maybe literally the last minute before they went live on the air. They just decided this, and Vince McMahon was in town. Gee, what a coincidence!
The disrespect.
So it was clearly total chaos booking, flying by the seat of their pants as usual. Thirdly, You're now ensuring, so let's talk about the women's revolution and the first ever women's main event at WrestleMania. You're now going to ensure that because both women's titles will be defended in one match, that of the 17 matches projected to be on the card, 3 will be women's matches. 3. Okay? 3 out of 17. Let me tell you something, Stephanie, inventor of women's wrestling. You're women's revolutioning wrong when you have 3 matches on the 17-match card that are women's matches.
And you just devoured one of the matches.
And only 2 of them are likely going to be on the main show because the Women's Battle Royal will be on the pre-show almost certainly. So you're going to have 2 matches in a 5-hour main show that will be women's matches.
So awful.
Nextly, Asuka's championship reign, and I can expand this out to Asuka's entire year since WrestleMania last year. During her championship reign, she had 1 marquee win, which is when she tapped Becky out at the Royal Rumble. That is the only win of any significance in 3 months as champion that she has had. And if we go back even further to last year at WrestleMania, where she lost to Charlotte, and that was appropriate for her to lose to Charlotte at that event. They needed to end her undefeated streak somewhere. That was the right place to do it. But what did they follow that up with? They put her in a feud with Carmella that involved James Ellsworth repeatedly wily coyoting Asuka out of her title shots. They put him in a shark cage at Extreme Rules. That was the dumbest feud maybe I've ever seen when Asuka kept getting jerked around by Carmella and James Ellsworth over the title for months. And then what did they follow that up with? They put Asuka in a ridiculous, nonsensical tag team with Naomi for God knows what reason. They had like 4 tag team matches, and they didn't stick around for the women's tag title. Nope. There was no point for it to exist at all.
None.
And then what did they do? And then they decided, we better get the SmackDown Women's Championship off of Becky, so let's give it to Asuka. Which they couldn't even have Asuka win fair and square, by the way.
Nope.
They couldn't have her, the Empress of Tomorrow, who had the longest undefeated streak in women's wrestling history. They couldn't have her just win the championship cleanly. Nope. No, they had to have Ronda come in when Charlotte and Becky were the ones that were about to win. So Asuka was the one lying on the outside of the ring at TLC,
just chilling,
while Charlotte and Becky were fighting for the title in the ring, and were both about to get it. And then Ronda came in, threw them both off the ladder, and then Asuka snuck up there and won. So even her first actual main roster title win was totally dirty, and she didn't earn it in the match.
So
context.
shitty. Yeah.
Next point.
Then she had the whole Benny Hill thing with Mandy Rose this entire time.
And then he just continued that.
Yep.
And next thing, we talk about Roman Reigns and how overpushed he is. Let me just give you one statistic. Roman Reigns in his career has 4 championships. His title reigns have totaled 182 days. Charlotte Flair, who came to the main roster in 2015, so we're talking under 4 years right now.
Yep.
8 title reigns, which is a record, by the way. This was the record setter. She broke Trish Stratus's record by getting this title win. 417 days. So overpushed Roman Reigns, 4 titles, 182 days. Yeah. Charlotte Flair, 8 titles, 417 days.
Charlotte Flair is great. I don't want to take anything away from Charlotte Flair. She's a great character. She's great on the mic.
She's a great person.
She's awesome in the ring.
She's a great leader in the locker room.
Yep.
I get all that. Yep.
But this is just too much. And you're devouring your own here. You're hurting the brand. You're hurting, just everything about it sucks.
You now have...
And it's disappointing. It's really devastatingly disappointing because you kind of have hope. You have the booking already set. You have amazing talent in the ring. And not only in the entirety of the WWE, but in the women's division specifically.
Yeah.
Outrageous talent. And it's just all being wasted on this one storyline. And just because we want to indoctrinate Charlotte Flair into everything.
Yeah.
And it's unnecessary. We could do so many more things with Charlotte Flair that would be far more interesting and be, much less of a waste of time for everybody involved.
Yeah. So now Asuka's going to be in the pre-show Jobber Battle Royal with the likes of Carmella and Lana. She's going to be in the match that Lana is in on the pre-show when she was your champion as of a week ago because of this complete spur-of-the-moment decision.
It's kind of devastating.
I just can't believe that this is the same show that handles its women's division the way... If you look at the men's division, you've had good feuds for the WWE Championship between AJ and Shinsuke Nakamura, between AJ and Samoa Joe, between AJ and Daniel Bryan, now Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston. You've had Mustafa Ali get into a championship match. You've had Kevin Owens. You can rotate this talent through.
Yes.
You have a depth of challenge.
And you
can rotate these people in and keep a bunch of people looking like formidable contenders that can challenge at any time.
Yes.
Randy Orton can challenge for the title at any time. You booked him that way. You can throw him into a title feud tomorrow and it will be legitimate. You can throw Andrade into a title feud tomorrow. It will be legitimate. You can throw Rey Mysterio into a title feud tomorrow. It will be legitimate. You've got a whole bench. You've got a deep bench of talent that you've been rotating and keeping everybody looking strong so that everybody can contend, so that you can keep feuds fresh.
Yeah,
and
no
yet,
doubt.
somehow, you've managed to bury your entire women's roster for 3 people. And now one of them is likely leaving after WrestleMania in Ronda. So you're going to have 2 people on your women's roster now. 2 people that are real championship material now that you've buried Asuka along with everybody else.
And one's going to have both fucking titles. Yeah. It's kind of sickening. It sucks. It's disappointing. It's kind of disgusting. And it's, I don't know. Yeah, if we haven't conveyed our disappointment enough, and I'm pretty sure most of the fan base, if not all the fan base, feels a similar way. It's devastating for fans. It clearly doesn't seem like the actual wrestlers are happy about it either. It seemed like there was a lot of kind of, subtle kickback from the actual wrestlers who seem to be tweeting a lot, out of character.
Yeah, there were some comments
how
in light
shitty
of
and
this.
kind of just how much bullshit was being flung.
Because not only what you did to Asuka, but what you did to the 4 women who were supposed to have a number 1 contenders match that night, and all of them just got scrapped from TV and just got swept away.
Just screwed over everybody. They lost their spotlight. They lost their place.
And the one that was going to win lost her WrestleMania title match.
It's just awful.
Just like Asuka lost her WrestleMania title match.
Just awful.
Great match, though.
It was a great match. Again, a huge distraction. We had 2 fucking commercial breaks, and we had the controversy at the end, and the whole point of the match was just wasted. It was an awesome match. I would have rather had this match at fucking WrestleMania for the SmackDown title.
Exactly.
That's what
we could have just had Becky Ronda and Charlotte Asuka, and we would have had more women's matches,
and it would have been fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And it would have been fucking amazing.
Yep.
And you wasted it.
So easy.
You wasted it.
Would have been so easy.
You could have had both titles on the line at WrestleMania with the top tier talents in the women's division, outside of Boss and Hug because they're in the tag team division, and you fucking wasted it. You wasted it.
Yep.
And
would have been so easy.
It's disgusting. It's such an easy path to success, and you just intentionally don't take it. And it's deliberately, last second, no reason, just don't take it. And it's a bad call, and I'm done. It makes me upset. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah, I'm done too.
But I do highly recommend anybody listening out there, please show, whether it's through social media or through written letters or whatever, show your distaste for this. Because Vince, to his credit, does occasionally listen to fans if the outcry is strong enough. And if he hears it at WrestleMania, if he hears it or sees it on the signs, if he sees, the social media blowing up constantly, if he gets fan letters saying, hey, what the fuck, dude? Who knows? Maybe he might listen. I don't know. Next up, we had Kurt Angle go out versus AJ Styles, again for the farewell tour. Pretty good little job there, but of course Randy Orton interrupts the match with
the RKO out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere RKO. And much fun was had by all. That's all I got.
Yeah, Angle stood tall. Got the worst Angle slam of all time on Randy, though. I'm kind of worried that Randy might have gotten hurt there because Angle absolutely did not get him up at all, and it was really, really bad.
The poor guys.
He's so done.
He's
so done.
If he doesn't get a break, which, again, spoiler alert for next week, I think there's a reason why certain things happen, and I think it's because they wanted to give him a break before WrestleMania because clearly this little farewell tour is not going well on his body.
But we continue to build the AJ Randy feud, and that is one of the matches I'm most looking forward to at WrestleMania.
2 awesome wrestlers. We got a little taste of it at our live SmackDown on a Blackout match after 205 Live.
It's going to be fantastic.
It's going to be good.
And by the way, I hate the Indies Randy is best Randy, clearly.
Next up, we had another Miz promo where they basically announced that they would have a Falls Count Anywhere match. Shane McMahon came out with his host of security, including kind of jobbers and whatnot, to defend him in case The Miz went on a little rampage there.
And then Sanity for some reason.
Yeah, Sanity was there.
Why?
They were there.
I haven't seen you on TV in months, and now you're...
They got paid. Sure, they're not complaining.
McMahon's goons?
Yeah.
How does that fit Sanity's characters to be a rich dad's goons?
It's weird.
Understand.
But again, Miz just selling his anger so well.
Yes.
He decimates
Rage.
everybody.
Yes.
Decimates the security, decimates Sanity, just fucking wrecks house. And this is awesome. I've never seen Miz like this, and I'm fucking loving it. Because usually he's the goofy villain. You know, he's the self-righteous goofy villain that's all about vanity
he's
and
really
stuff.
never had a babyface
But
run that I know of.
now that he's like has a legitimate fucking reason that's almost as real as you can make it in wrestling, like it's fucking awesome. I fucking
I've
love
wondered
it.
for years what babyface Miz would be like, and sure enough, he's awesome at that. He's awesome at everything.
He's
else.
awesome. Awesome. And I did put in my notes, I enjoyed how Shane was just subtly kind of peeking out and kind of like slowly backing into the arena as he saw Miz
maintaining
just
a safe
destroy
distance.
everybody. And Shane McMahon, great at the promo.
Yes, once again called
like-
Mr. Miz, Mr. Potato Face, which is just great.
And Shane O'Mac, much like his father, plays a great villain. So
He does.
credit to him, credit to all involved. Poor Sanity getting disrespected, but hey, at least we got to see him.
Yeah, they're out of catering for once.
Next up, we had New Day begin the gauntlet match here, which took up pretty much the entire show. Really enjoyed pretty much all of it, except for Gallows and Anderson. You know, the Bullet Club came out just to get squashed immediately, which is disappointing, and it's probably a big reason why they're leaving. And I don't blame them. But yeah, they got squashed.
Or, to be fair, it may be the reverse. The fact that they're leaving is why they got squashed.
Also possible, but it didn't. They
Like they're doing
weren't
with Dean
even
now.
on TV
Yeah.
when they weren't leaving.
Yeah,
so
that's true. It was jobber duty.
yeah.
Pulled up. But again, they made it out of catering. So
Hey,
a lot of people made it out of catering tonight.
Hey, someone saw you, so that was cool. So they got squashed right away. I do have to say, Xavier Woods doesn't get to actually wrestle very often, and he does a great job when he does.
Yeah.
I want to give Xavier Woods some credit. Big E, of course, steals the show because he's the big, giant, strong guy, and he's just a great dancer.
Absolutely. Oozing charisma.
But Xavier Woods deserves a lot of credit for a guy that barely ever wrestles, like other than just being part of the pile that gets jumped on in the end. He's an awesome wrestler.
Yeah,
He's
all three of the New Day guys are
Yeah.
just really underrated individually because of how popular they are as a gimmick collectively.
Yeah.
You just forget that all three of these guys are really good at wrestling.
And this was a new side of New Day. They were fucking serious. They were ready
They were
to
all
fucking
business.
clean house.
Yeah,
they
they were
didn't
all
care what
business.
they had to do. They were going to do
They were
this.
there for their brother.
They were going to do this for Kofi. And again, this is how you make a babyface great. You make them fight for something other than themselves. And seeing those two fight for Kofi.
Yeah.
As great as Kofi's gauntlet matches have been up to this point, I think it was more emotional for me seeing those two fight for him
Yeah.
rather than Kofi fighting for himself. That made it more emotionally involved for me, and why I actually enjoyed this a lot more than Kofi's gauntlet
Yeah.
matches. Not because Kofi was bad, but because there's more emotional stake to it for me.
That's friendship story.
Yeah.
Bond of brotherhood. You could really feel it.
And again-
because they really feel that way about each other. So they're
Yeah.
able to bring that into the product in a way
Absolutely.
that's palpable.
Yeah. And again, credit to the SmackDown writing crew. They were they're wizards.
Yeah.
Compared to the Raw guys, they're just fucking
It
wizards.
is. It's unbelievable.
Yep.
It's unbelievable.
I
I gotta admit, I was half watching most of this because I was so enraged about Asuka. So
I was
you're gonna
too.
have to carry the brunt.
I
of the
literally had to
analysis here.
pause it and take a break after the Oscar
Yeah.
thing. I took like an hour break and went and ate something and then came back. But,
Yeah, I wish I had done that because I know that this was really good, but I was half watching it because I
Yeah.
was so fucking angry.
Yeah. Once I had cooled
I
down,
just had blood vessels
it-
bursting in
it
one
did help
eye,
me
so
out.
I could only half watch.
and I was still raging after this whole thing was over. So, but yeah, they put on a great match. Big E and Xavier Woods are awesome. Then Shinsuke and Rusev Day came out again.
Nakarusev.
Yeah, they had a really great match with those two. However, they just continued to disrespect Shinsuke. Shinsuke eats the pin, and it's just, it sucks. They are wasting Rusev Day and Shinsuke so poorly, and they shouldn't be on a tag team together.
Yeah.
You blame Shinsuke for hurting your fucking wife, and then you join him, and now suddenly you're buddies. It fucking sucks.
And these guys going into WrestleMania last year were two of the most over guys on the roster.
They're amazing.
They were so
They're
over.
amazing.
The fans with Rusev Day were going crazy. The fans loved Shinsuke. Both of those guys got some of the biggest crowd reactions in the company going to WrestleMania last year. It is stunning incompetence that these guys have plummeted to this point right now. It's just in less than a year, I can hardly believe it.
I kind of can't wait for the shakeup because honestly, if they don't send them to Raw or do something to get them out of this overloaded group in SmackDown, I think that's the problem. I think there's just too much talent, specifically in the men's portion of SmackDown, and they just need to spread them out a little bit because the guys that should be shining aren't even getting a shot. And I think Raw kind of needs the influx of talent, especially with guys like Dean Ambrose leaving. And let's face it, Raw's cast just kind of sucks.
Maybe if Seth wins at WrestleMania, these be a couple good heels to throw into the mix.
Yeah, Shinsuke's amazing. Rusev Day's amazing. They shouldn't be on a tag team together, period. But yeah, again, great match by those guys. Then we had New Day versus The Bar. It was pretty good. I didn't enjoy this version of The Bar as much as I did the Kofi Gauntlet match. It was clear that everybody was winded. Big E especially looked like he was dying.
Yeah,
he was dying. That dude is not built for cardio.
No, he is not.
No.
He does not do cardio.
As impressive as he was throughout the match. Yeah. And even the Bar was looking winded doing some of the stuff they were doing. And, Cesaro went to do a spin and just... He just didn't have the same type of energy. He did like one rotation and then it was just like, okay, I'm a little done. Everybody looked tired. Everybody looked winded. And then they got the roll-up pin. However, I did like seeing after they got pinned, they smashed Big E through a table.
Yeah,
while
I saw that.
They were raging out about being pinned, and that was a great villain move. It's always fun to watch.
Yeah, typical bully heel stuff.
Again, stepping up the ante.
Yeah, chips are really down at this point.
Yeah,
and then the SmackDown Tag Champs make their way to the ring.
Ooh,
I gotta say, this was one of the best moments on SmackDown this year for me.
Adding to the emotion, not only are Big E and Xavier Woods fighting for their brother, fighting for their best friend to have his moment to shine after all these years of just being kind of looked over because he's part of their group, because they're seen collectively as just a bunch of clowns and nothing respectable. The emotion was at an all-time high for me. And then the Usos came out, and you're like, okay, are they, aren't they? Are they going to just like kind of put a weak effort forward or disqualify themselves?
Yeah, I was curious what was going to happen.
But no, they straight up forfeit, and it was awesome.
It was awesome. They cut a great promo about it too. They came out looking hyped up like they were ready to take these guys down.
Yeah,
and you're like,
they sold it really well.
They're gonna kill them.
Fuck, I was like, fuck, they got me.
Gonna kill
I
him.
figured they were going to do something to disqualify themselves on purpose.
Yeah.
But then they came out like fucking ready. And I was like, oh, man.
And that was, as usual from the Usos, a powerful, powerful promo. And if you know the history of the Usos and the New Day, they go back years. They've had many classic battles over the years where they've just taken each other to the limit. And they put on some of the best tag team matches SmackDown has seen in years. And so there's a long history there. These guys are like brothers in real life. And just thinking about some of the racial undertones of this whole story and how this was another way that it kind of subtly culminated and surfaced without being directly acknowledged. Just everything about this was powerful and emotional and fantastic storytelling. Again, I can't believe that the same people that write for SmackDown write for Raw. How is this possible? This is great. This is high-level wrestling storytelling. This is the highest level wrestling storytelling.
It was amazing
right here.
Such
a beautiful touch.
Outstanding.
Beautiful.
And then we had the Planet's Champion raging about how they made it through. Daniel Bryan is so good as a villain. Again, fully admit I was completely wrong. I thought it was going to suck. I wasn't into it when he switched to a villain again, and you fucking convinced me, and you were completely right. Dan the Man was 100% right on this. I fucking love it. Probably more than you do.
Yeah, I know. You've really become obsessed with it now. It's I knew it was awesome, but you just simmer down, all right?
The belt was what just pushed it over the edge for me. I love the fucking belt.
Goodbye, Daisy.
Oh, it's so good. So good. But Daniel Bryan and Rowan come out to be the last match of the gauntlet. And again, Xavier Woods looked fucking great. He was pulling off awesome moves. He was getting a ton of spotlight. Again, Big E was looking pretty winded, for these last few matches. But Xavier Woods came out looking great. And again, the guy barely gets a chance to really shine most of the time. Most of the time, it's Kofi and Big E in the ring, and then he's kind of the trumpet guy in the background supporting them.
I mean, in this case, he's doing a gauntlet match with a power lifter, so he really was called on to carry the load, and he did.
he did an awesome job. And I loved how they ended the match by basically trapping Rowan with a table.
Very creative.
So he gets counted out. And
with the announce table, nonetheless.
Yeah, it was excellent. A Big E flips the table on him, runs back into the ring so he can be counted out.
Love it.
Great ending, super emotional. You see Kofi sprinting out, jumping onto his buddies there.
This would have been a tears of joy moment for me if I wasn't so angry.
And I did love how they kept cutting to shots of the ever-growing, cast crowd in the back, watching the TV of the baby faces.
And then they all came to the ring.
Of course, I love Dozer in there going,
And then they all came to the ring. All the faces came to the ring, led by Kevin Owens. It was the first one out.
It was awesome.
It was just great.
It was awesome. Great moment. It might be
genuine joy from everyone.
We'll see what happens the rest of the year, but for me, as a single emotional moment, specifically with the emotion that the New Day guys carried for Kofi, fighting for their best friend, for their brother, for their teammate.
Yep.
That was probably the highlight of the year for me. As a storyline or as an emotion so far. So for 2019, my match of the year is the 205 Live match. But as far as the actual moment goes,
the Charlotte Asuka match is in the running there, by the way.
Yeah, that match was awesome too. That's definitely up there. But again, that emotional high point for me so far, that was it. Yeah. Not the Kofi, going through the gauntlet, seeing his brothers fight for him.
Yes.
And then seeing the jubilation on everybody's face when they actually do it. Against all odds, and that's when wrestling is at its best.
Absolutely.
And I fucking loved it.
Yep.
And it just sucks that I was weighed down by how much they just crushed Asuka.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of weight and a lot of what would be good vibes for this match got dropped because of how badly they disrespected Asuka and disrespected the women's division as a whole. And for me, in the end, I had to dock at points as great as the SmackDown was otherwise. And it really was legitimately great. Great matches, great emotional highs. But for what they did to Asuka, I gave it a 7.
Yeah.
And it's lucky to have gotten that because it was really pulled by the sheer amount of greatness that was in this episode.
Yeah, it's funny. I gave it the exact same score of a 7 for the exact same reason. And I just wrote down that, if I'm counting my outrage and how bad that booking decision was, then it's a 7. But if I'm to take out the badness of the booking decision and just look at it as a product, in isolation, then I would have given it probably a 9.5. It was that good.
I would have straight up given it a 10.
The promos were fantastic. Asuka Charlotte was my favorite women's match of the year so far. The gauntlet match was fantastic. The emotional weight of everything that happened towards the end, it was just the treatment of Asuka has to drag it down, and it drags it down 2 full letter grades from what would be an A show to a C show.
No doubt. So there you have it for SmackDown. Again, because I've been busy with all the catching up and editing, I still haven't gotten the last episode out just yet as we're recording this. So there's got to be a lot of stuff coming out all at once. I didn't get to NXT or NXT UK or 205 Live this week, so why don't you run us through it?
Sure. So NXT opened up with the first promo between Adam Cole, Bebe, and Johnny Wrestling to hype up their coming NXT TakeOver New York main event, which I am predicting will be the 2019 match of the year.
Wow.
I am predicting that already, and I am fairly confident in that because Johnny Takeover delivers, as this guy will see very soon.
We'll see. 205 Live match is pretty fucking amazing.
It was very good.
So was Asuka and Charlotte.
It was.
Damn.
Johnny Wrestling is on another level, my friend. So when the two guys first came out, there were long competing chants, which you did see with the crowd at full sail.
Watch this portion.
Johnny Wrestling, Adam Cole. Yeah. Johnny Wrestling, Adam Cole.
They
just let him go. Johnny Wrestling just took a seat in the turnbuckle and he just let him go, and it was awesome. And then finally, Adam Cole, being the amazing Mike heel that he is, told the fans cheering for him, "Stop cheering for me. I don't give a shit about your support. I'm just gonna go win this title, and I don't need you."
Yeah.
So good stuff. Johnny Wrestling cut a promo sort of explaining how he's gotten to this point and his whole career and his contributions to NXT, which was good stuff. Obviously, it was pretty generic babyface type stuff. I fight for the fans because they cheer for me,
They're like, okay, whatever.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I wasn't 100% sure if Johnny was
I'm
going
rooting
back
for you,
to...
but I don't care.
Yeah, I wasn't 100% sure if Johnny was going back to his white meat babyface character because he kind of had a heel who thought he was a hero character,
which is a great dynamic
for months, which was really interesting.
Yep.
But I guess with the Ciampa injury, since they can't really continue that anymore, then they've pretty much just had Johnny Wrestling return to white meat babyface status. And it was shown his traditional logo, his winky face emoji logo, is back to the way it was. It had like a warped version when he was doing his heel thing, and it went back to their normal version. So that was my
kind of
first
a bummer.
clue. Yeah, it is. I think his character was much more interesting that way.
Yeah.
But I don't mind Johnny as a typical hero. He's just more boring in promo work because of it.
Yep.
But good promo work from both guys. Then we had a tag team match, Vanessa Bourne and Aaliyah versus Lacey Lane and Casey Catanzaro. The crowd was excited to see Casey. I was excited to see Casey, but she didn't really do much of anything before, as usual, the MMA horsewomen, like they do for every women's match that has happened in NXT for weeks, showed up and beat the hell out of everybody.
They are currently the Nia Jax and Tamina of the NXT crowd.
Yes.
Just ruining everything for no reason.
And Casey ended up getting choked out. So that was the most action that she got, was getting choked out to the Kirifuda clutch from Shayna Baszler. So Shayna continues her rampage.
Okay, thanks.
Next we had Matt Riddle versus Kona Reeves. I haven't seen Kona Reeves in a while. They had a pretty decent match, but the story of this match was really the greatest match interruption of all time.
Now, this I did see.
Velveteen Dream at a random point in the match, his theme music hit, and he is rolled out onto the entrance ramp in a silk couch, a silk sofa, a love sofa of some kind,
with his
drinking
chalice.
from a chalice with two female escorts with him.
So good.
And just casually sipping from his chalice, watching this match, and I died laughing when I thought it was the greatest match interruption there's ever been.
I was half expecting them to be feeding him grapes while he watched.
It was I love Dream. I love Dream.
So good. Best character work probably in the WWE right now.
So yes, I would agree with that. So Kona Reeves almost got a roll-up pin as a result of that distraction, but ultimately Riddle kicked out and then put Reeves into the bro mission for the tap victory. After the match, Riddle went up to confront Dream. Dream gave a little sarcastic, "Your winner, Matthew Riddle," and Riddle came up, took his chalice.
How dare you?
Drank from the chalice and then threw it across the stage, grabbed the mic and told Dream, "I'll see you in New York." So yet again, there's not a single match on this TakeOver card I cannot wait for.
Matt Riddle's fucking awesome. I was not the biggest Matt Riddle fan prior to this. Really, I'd only seen him wrestle maybe one time, I think. And that was against Gulak, which is a good match, not a great match unless you're really into technical wrestling.
If it's your cup of tea, it was great.
If that's the case, it was amazing. But yeah, again, I wasn't that into it.
But being objective about it, you can view, you can see the quality.
Yeah, absolutely. And then since then, I've just been blown away by what Matt Riddle's done, and I am really on board the Matt Riddle train. As much as I love Velveteen Dream, I wouldn't be opposed to Matt Riddle getting that title.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I think that's going to be a very, very good match. Again, I feel that way about every TakeOver match. It almost feels redundant to say it about any of them because they're all going to be so
And I
good.
appreciate that Matt Riddle has a body like me, where he's just really long and lanky, but he controls everything so smoothly and so competently.
Yeah.
You are intimidated by what he can do.
Yeah.
And like in real life, you're like, fuck, if he did that to me, I'd be fucked.
Yeah, he seems like such a dopey stoner kid.
Yeah.
He can actually fuck you up. So
it's amazing. I love it.
And then the main event was the Dusty Classic Final, the winner to take on War Raiders at NXT TakeOver New York. So we had White Power Sanity. Excuse me. What I meant to say was
accurate.
What I meant to say was we had the Forgotten Sons against Ricochet and Aleister Black, or as we call him on this show, Blackochet.
We forgot you.
Very pretty good match. I don't think this was the best match of the tournament, which usually you would expect the final to be.
Yeah.
I think Forgotten Sons, which I have to make a conscious effort to call them at this point. I think they're a good
We
tag
literally
team.
call them White Power Sanity so frequently.
I
forget their names too.
It flows now.
Yeah.
But I think they're a good tag team, but I just don't think that. I think there were other tag teams that were better than them in this tournament. I think Street Profits would have been a better match here. I think Mustache Mountain would have been better here. I think European Union would have been better here. But it was a good match. Solid. There was a really cool springboard Meteora spot from Aleister Black that I really enjoyed. That was probably my favorite spot.
He's
in the
been
match.
doing that a lot lately.
Yeah,
you don't see that from the men too often, but he's been doing it for the past month. Like,
I think
pretty
he's the only.
consistently.
I think he's the
And
only
it's pretty
man
awesome.
that really does the Meteora.
Yeah.
So
It's pretty awesome too.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, and doing the springboard with it now is a new touch that really made it even cooler.
Yeah.
So towards the end of this match, Jackson Riker was getting involved. Ref caught him, ejected him, and that was probably the biggest pop of the whole night on NXT when Jackson Riker got ejected. And shortly after that, that was the end of it for the Forgotten Sons without his distraction.
Yep.
So as usual with Blackashay's victories, Black Mass into the 630 wins it. So it will be Blackashay versus the War Raiders for the NXT Tag Team Championships at NXT TakeOver New York.
Which on paper should be amazing.
It
War
would be,
Raiders
yes.
is amazing.
Yes.
Aleister Black's amazing. Ricochet is amazing. Notice I didn't say Blackashay is amazing.
Yes.
I just don't like their tag team.
I don't like their tag team either.
I get it because, Ciampa's injured, so you couldn't do your DIY stuff, but it just kind of sucks. It feels like it's shoehorned into everything. As like a patch for a problem they couldn't really predict.
Yeah, that very well could have messed up a lot of their NXT plans, and there's kind of these reverberating effects from that.
Yeah.
But I do think in-ring product-wise, I mean, I don't like their incongruous gimmicks, and I don't think they work as a team, but in-ring, they're such talented performers that I think that match is going to tear the house down anyway.
100%.
Yeah. So because the main event wasn't great, but it was okay, and because I loved Adam Cole and Johnny Wrestling's promo, and because Velveteen Dream is amazing, I gave the show an 8.0 overall.
Very nice.
So solid showing from NXT. NXT UK, we had, look at that. I believe. Okay, so you watched 2 of these matches at least.
Yeah.
So we did watch the opening match together. The Irish Ace Jordan Devlin took on me, Dan Maloney.
Yep.
I put up a pretty good fight, I would say. Yeah. I mean, I haven't been on TV in a while, and I was
for an Irish guy, you sure do look like a Spaniard.
I was looking pretty dark. I was just doing something different with my hair at the
spray
time.
tan or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I've been eating a lot of carrots and drinking my celery juice. And I just wanted to try something different with my hair.
Oh, yeah. It looked good.
Yeah,
good.
I thought so.
Yeah.
Pretty solid match. Once again, this is one of the handful of guys that I say it. Never not enjoyed an Irish Ace match.
Pretty
Jordan
good.
Devlin is great. So
That's
pretty typical
Finn
stuff.
Balor's prodigy there.
Yes, Devlin pretty much took care of business, though, won decisively for sure. Cassius Ohno cut a promo where he came out and apologized from the bottom of his heart for the rolling elbow that he hit on Ashton Smith after their match the previous week, before saying, just kidding, he's a loser, he deserved it.
Nailed it.
So typical,
Got him.
Typical heel stuff from Ohno. I really enjoy his
no,
promos.
wear pants.
I really enjoy his promos because he really just does sound like your douchey uncle, just coming out into the lawn and yelling at the kids in the driveway for using their skateboards. Really love Ohno. So he did take some shots at Travis Banks, the Kiwi Buzzsaw, who he had some words with the previous week. So obviously they're building a feud between those two guys that should put on some good matches at least.
Yeah.
We had a brief promo with Ginny visiting India on behalf of the NXT UK brand and boasting that Toni Storm did not do so. They sent Ginny, not Toni, even though Toni's the women's champion, so that existed.
Okay.
And then we had a match between Xia Brookside and Rhea Ripley, which was your first foray into Ripleydom.
Yep.
Pretty solid.
Really solid.
I will say, if I have one complaint about Rhea, she has to expand her trash talk vocabulary because she says the word "shut your mouth" too many times. Like the first time she does it, it's good.
did enjoy her calling the audience peasants.
Yes, shut your mouth, peasants.
That was excellent.
Yeah, I found that hysterical. But then she said,
hearing
shut
an
your mouth.
Australian call a British audience peasants is very heartwarming.
But she did say "shut your mouth" like 3 more times in that match, and then it was like it was getting too much. It's like you got to expand a little bit. But it's a very nitpicky thing. She's a fantastic in-ring performer. She's a fantastic character.
I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, she's a powerhouse. I mean, she brings something to the table I don't think anyone else on the roster does. I can't wait for her to get into the mix on the main roster.
Yeah, she's awesome.
So good stuff. Rhea looks huge. She has always been jacked, but she is just looking increasingly massive lately.
She looks like
she's really hitting the gym.
Large middle linebacker.
She
like a heavy set middle linebacker.
I'm pretty sure she could take either of us in a fight.
That's why I'm a sniper, because I'm skinny.
So you don't have to get close.
Because I'm skinny and I fucking suck at anything grappling. So I hide in a bush far away where you can't see me, and I take you out.
Smart man. Zaya did put up a decent fight there towards the end, but Rhea Ripley hit the Riptide, which is one of my favorite finishers, and finished.
Badass name, by the way.
Yes.
Yep.
Just love Rhea Ripley. I've been singing her praises since we started the show.
He has.
Continued to sing the praises.
Again, this is another thing I got to credit Dan for. He was pushing Rhea quite
a lot, annoyingly
profusely,
annoyingly so.
And we finally got a match where I could actually sit down and watch it, and it was pretty good.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
She's great.
I feel like Zaya didn't really get much to do in this match, other than get her ass beat.
She took the beating.
But it was fine because Rhea was great.
That was her role here. So there was a post-match promo that we skipped through that I forgot happened.
Okay.
But basically, Rhea cut a promo saying, she is the dominant woman in NXT UK. Doesn't matter.
Probably
Toni
true.
Storm beat her. And then we got the debut of Piper Niven, who is a talent that has a lot of buzz in the Smark world, in the internet wrestling community. She is a plus-size woman, which is uncommon on the current roster, so there's that. She cut a promo basically saying, "No, I'm going to be the dominant woman around here, Rhea, and if there's anything you would like to do about it, let's see you do something about it."
Interesting.
So a feud between Rhea and Piper Niven, I'm very, very interested in. So that should be a female version of a hoss fight right there. So that should be interesting. Then we got a Walter video package just recapping how dominant he's been in his time in NXT UK, and Walter's awesome and can't wait for his match at TakeOver. We had Trent Seven cut a promo to challenge Joe Coffey, which will be the next week's main event.
I wonder what'll happen.
I have no idea what will
we
happen
totally
there.
Didn't just watch that match
like 10 minutes
after our
ago.
battery went out.
Just finished watching.
Yeah.
But that is going to happen in the future. Also happening in the future, European Union will take on Kenny Williams and Amir Jordan. We have no idea what will happen.
Wow, that could potentially be great.
That was teased.
I wonder if we should watch it.
I don't know.
We should probably watch it.
And then Mark Andrews versus Noam Dar. A pretty fun match. Took a unfortunately disturbing and unfortunate turn. There were dual leg injuries, legitimate leg injuries in this match. Both of them
something you
at
could
the same
see.
Time.
Or did you find out after?
It was odd. No, I did. I confirmed it after the fact, so I could see they both landed on their legs in awkward ways, and then they were clutching their legs, but it didn't look like anything all that bad happened.
Yeah.
So I thought that it was a kayfabe deal. But then the doctors came out, and then I started to wonder.
Oh, wow.
And then the stretchers came out, and then I really started to wonder. And then I went and did some research, and these are legitimate injuries.
Wow.
So both guys were stretchered out legitimately with severe
sucks.
leg injuries. Noam Dar has actually just made his return a few weeks ago after taking like 6 to 8 months off with a severe knee injury. So he went right back to injured status, which just sucks for him. It was tough to watch. It was a really, really good match up to a certain point until that happened, but really huge bummer for both those guys. And these are two excellent performers. I've talked about how much I love Mark Andrews on the show before. Noam Dar is a guy that I've just really started to become high on, so super bummer.
Well, I hope both guys are healing up okay. Hopefully it's nothing too severe. Hopefully it's not like ligament damage. Hopefully it's just like a muscle tear or something. It's a lot easier to recover from a muscle tear than ligament damage, and I've had both. And the one mistake, and I'm sure a lot of wrestlers make this mistake, I know professional athletes make this mistake all the time. If you mess up a ligament, severely mess it up, tear it, whatever the case may be, the biggest mistake you can possibly make is thinking that you're okay because it's functional again and you can use it and it feels like it should be okay, but going against doctor's orders on timetables. Stick to the doctor's timetables on orders, because it'll basically calcify around there, become structurally integral, and you'll be able to move it and put weight on it and walk like normal, run like normal. But the moment you do anything excessive, that's when it fails on you, because it's still not fully recovered. It's still not fully formed and restructured. I know a lot of guys that do like knee replacements and stuff like that, ligament replacements, cadaver grafts, whatever the case is. They all make that same mistake unless somebody is there to explicitly tell them, don't overdo it. Take it easy. I know you want to rush back. I know you feel good. You think it feels good. It's working fine, but just listen to the doctor. Don't overdo it, because you will re-injure yourself if you don't go through the full physical recovery and full physical therapy. And I set myself back when I was in the Army for 2 of my injuries, probably several weeks, if not a month, just because, the doctor was like, well, you're probably okay, but I recommend you don't overdo it. And of course, I want to get back to functioning because I was, I had a lot of pride, and I want to be functional with my unit. And for anybody who's, been in the combat arms, you kind of feel like a shitbag if you can't function, if you can't participate and be a fully functional member of the crew. Even if nobody thinks that, it feels that way. It's just a self-inflicted thought process, and I'm sure for a handful of people, it's probably representative of what they're thinking because they've never been injured. And whether it's professional sports or professional wrestling, military service, police service, any kind of job that requires a lot of physical activity, you got to take it easy and listen to the doctor. All right.
Yeah, so really unfortunate. Hopefully those guys are okay. We'll just have to await word. So the main segment was a contract signing between Walter and Pete Dunne for their match at NXT TakeOver New York. Pretty typical stuff. Pete Dunne said, I'm going to win. Walter said, I'm going to win. And that was pretty much it. Did get to see Walter speak for the first time in NXT UK. I didn't even know if he spoke English or what, but he speaks very fluent English. He did cut a pretty decent promo saying, everybody here knows I could put you through this table right now if I wanted to, but I'm just going to go ahead and wait for NXT TakeOver New York when I'm going to take your title from you. So pretty good promo work from both of them. It did show that you can do a contract signing without the typical violent brawl thing, which is always so predictable usually. You can actually have a good contract signing segment without that, so it was nice to see them kind of swerve that way. And I just wrote in all caps, this match will rule, because this match will rule.
Fingers crossed.
Just like every match at TakeOver, I expect. So I gave NXT UK an 8.5 this week.
Wow.
I really liked the contract signing. I really liked Rhea Ripley's match. I liked Devlin and me. We did well, I thought. And all the promos were really good, I thought. So there just weren't a lot of weak spots of this.
Nice.
And Mark Andrews and Noam Dar were turning the house down before the injuries. So I got to give them credit for the effort they put up to that point. Okay, so 205 Live. We opened with a match between the Lucha House Party, Drew Gulak versus Drew Gulak. The gentleman Jack Gallagher, who I'm always super excited to see, and Humberto Carrillo, who I'm also super excited to see always.
Nice.
This match was awesome. And it's typical with 205 Live when they give a match room to breathe. This match was awesome.
Lucha.
I'm usually not a fan of 6-man tag matches in general. I just think they're too busy, and it's too hard to get any momentum going between two guys. They can't build the chemistry.
That's true.
And you're just switching in and out, and everybody's just suddenly fighting someone else. And I'm just not a fan of the format, but this was really good. This was awesome. Really, really good. As usual, Humberto Carrillo, I've said this before too, every time he wrestles, he's fantastic. He's phenomenally talented. He's very young. Aiden English has a huge man crush on him because he's just impossibly handsome. This was just great. I mean, I don't know what more to say about it. There was some interesting interplay between Gulak and Humberto. So Carrillo and Gulak are kind of doing this thing where they're trying to take Humberto under their wing. Like a few weeks ago when Humberto was wrestling his match, they were sitting in the back watching, and they had T-shirts with his face on them because they're just trying to kind of adopt him as groom him as one of their successors, I guess, or something like that, just like a protege.
Very nice.
So Gulak was kind of playing the role of the mean coach in this, where towards the end, after a lot of good wrestling between Carrillo and the Lucha House Party, Carrillo got up to the top rope to go for a finish, and Drew Gulak started yelling at him to get down from the top rope. Don't go up there. We talked about that. And Humberto got down, and he's like, I'm just trying to win. Just let me do my job. Just stay out of it. He's like, hey, we talked about this. You listen to me when I talk to you. And then, of course, Lucha House Party rolled up Carrillo and got the win because Gulak was distracting him. So it was a pretty fun mean coach versus talented young.
This is why Gulak can't have nice things.
So that was fun stuff. Great match, though. Fantastic.
Awesome.
Then we had a promo where Drake Maverick's tension with Mike Kanellis continued to grow. Obviously, they are not getting along. Kanellis is not happy with how he's being used, and Maverick is not happy with Kanellis' attitude, so we'll see if that's building towards something.
Come at me, bro.
We had Buddy Murphy cut a promo from his native Melbourne, Australia. Just talking about Tony Nese, typical stuff. Oh, wait a minute. I got that mixed up. That was a previous week. So this week he was in the ring talking about Tony Nese. Nese did end up coming out and had enough of Buddy Murphy's trash talk, so they did have a pull-apart brawl. Pretty typical WrestleMania build type stuff. Championship match type build.
We're close.
And then
Almost
in the
there.
main event, we had Arya Daivari making his return to singles action. I believe that this is his first match back since he had an injury where he was working as a manager for a while he came back from injury. He went against Cedric Alexander, who we all know how good he is.
Absolutely.
A very, very good match. Oni Lorcan was watching at ringside.
Interesting.
So it seems like they're going to be building a Cedric Alexander-Oni Lorcan feud. So Cedric was the one that eliminated Oni Lorcan from the Cruiserweight tournament when we were there.
Yeah.
So Oni was kind of just, scowling from the announce table.
Menacingly.
The announcers tried to get him to come put on a headset and participate, and he wouldn't do it. He was just sitting there scowling at Cedric. Towards the end of the match, Oni's jacket was laying near ringside, and Cedric kind of kicked it out of the way to set up a maneuver, and Oni freaked the hell out. She's like, "That's my jacket! What are you doing touching my jacket? What are you doing?" And Cedric just kept looking over like, "It was in my way. What are you talking about? It's a jacket." He's like, "It's my jacket! It's my jacket!" It's just
Excellent.
so over the top and ridiculous. And of course, the distraction caused Daivari to be able to get the roll-up pin on Alexander and get the victory.
Classic
And
wrestling.
then afterwards, Lorcan just continued to scream at Cedric Alexander, "Don't touch my jacket! That's my stuff! You never touch my jacket!"
Hey, bro. Back off. Back off the jacket, bro.
So it was hilarious, and Oni Lorcan did end up attacking Cedric Alexander and beating him up. So obviously they're building a feud between those guys. So for 205 Live, I gave it a 7.5.
Wow. After all that praise.
Yeah, again, it's just there are problems with building stories. That is the problem with 205 Live. The in-ring product is, if we're just judging an in-ring product, 205 Live is going to be almost a 10 every week because their matches are just that good.
I guess it's the downside of having an hour-long show with, half the talent of NXT.
I mean, you have to have these long matches, which ends up being really good for the in-ring product, but you end up not being able to tell stories all that great. Although I am surprised looking at this grade that I did rate it so low, because I love the interplay between Gulak and Carrillo with the mean coach kind of dynamic. And there wasn't anything I really disliked. So yeah, that is kind of low. I'm going to bump it up.
Yes.
I'm going to bump that up to an 8.5. It was a solid B+. And again,
nice.
This is kind of like a reverse Raw curve where 205 Live, the wrestling is so freaking good every week that you kind of have to try not to be blown away by the wrestling every week, even though you can. Because otherwise you'll just be like
by
10.
By how great it is.
205 Live has its 90th straight 10. If you're just doing that.
Undefeated.
So I'm trying to be critical and reserved.
Sure.
So I'm just going to say I don't understand the Drake Maverick, Mike Kanellis storyline. Buddy Murphy's promo was good, not great, kind of predictable.
Yep.
The two matches that happened were fantastic, and that gives it a B+.
Awesome. So all around, awesome weeks for wrestling. Raw probably excluded for 1 week or another, based on whether you're asking Dan or I, because we seem to flip-flop between Raw. But we're not too far apart most of the time, especially on SmackDown and NXT. We seem to be right in line on those. Again, thank you for sticking with us. We apologize for the super long show, but we think there's a lot of content here for you to enjoy. And I think it was a fun show. I think we had a lot of awesome talking points, a lot of really important build-up for WrestleMania and NXT TakeOver. Really important stuff, really great stuff. It's why we love wrestling, and sometimes why we hate wrestling. What the fuck? How dare you disrespect Asuka? Asuka deserves better. I really hope she doesn't end up leaving because of how shitty she's been treated, as a character.
I will never forgive you.
And it sucks. It literally knocked down SmackDown 3 points for me.
Mm-hmm.
I would have gave it a 10 because that's how good the match was. That's how good everything else was on the show, how great the emotional moments were. And that just threw a wrench into everything. But really, overall, a lot of great matches. I got my favorite match of the year so far with Tony Nese and Cedric Alexander in 205 Live. I gave my first 10 out of 10, I believe. I don't think I've given a 10 out of 10 yet. That was a 10 out of 10 for me. And yeah, it's just amazing. I'm going to start posting our scores for each show on our website, on probably our respective blogs, or maybe I'll just make a separate page for it. Time will tell. That way we can keep track of everything, and we can kind of go back real quick and see some quick notes and write-ups on everything, just like we do with our Comics of the Week segment for Hit the Books podcast. Again, if you like comic books, be sure to check out our Hit the Books podcast. We got another episode coming out right before this episode, so look forward to that. Again, that's more of a catch-up episode, so a lot of news on that episode. We should be back on schedule. We're going to have a ton of content. We're going to record an episode right after NXT TakeOver with some friends, do a prediction show, plus a review of the week's SmackDown, NXT, Raw, all that stuff. And then right after that, we're giving you a WrestleMania and the Fallout shows review. So just a ton of content on the way. If you like the content, if you appreciate the content, please consider going to our Patreon page, patreon.com/hitthebooks. Again, it supports both shows, and it really does help us out. If you don't wish to contribute, that's fine. Leave us a nice comment. Leave us some constructive criticism if you have some. Give us a nice thumbs up on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube. Again, that stuff all really helps us out and gets us out to more people and helps us spread our wings a little bit more. We really do love you guys out there. For those of you who are listening and sticking around, we apologize for the slight gaps in time between episodes as we were recovering from being sick and catching up on work and catching up on editing and all that stuff. I know we said a lot, especially as of late, but we really do enjoy it. It really is a passion for us, and we appreciate you out there. Once again, you can check out our website, htbvids.com. You can check us out on Twitter at htbvids, on Facebook at facebook.com/hitthebooks. You can email us at hitthebooksvids@gmail.com if you got any questions, concerns, or topics for the show. We'll be happy to read them out. You can always talk to us on the comments on YouTube. I try to respond daily for those who do write on there. If you'd like any requested episodes or quick vids that we can make, just let us know. And I really want to thank you for sticking around on this very supersized episode of Hit the Mats podcast. And I really look forward to talking to you after NXT TakeOver. So until next time, take care.
Peace.
Asuka deserves better. You son of a bitch. Vince! Impotent! Give me what I want! Give me what I want! Give me what I want!